At this time, on Zuojin's back, Yujin, who had his head down, suddenly raised his head, showing a grimace. The sudden change startled Hinata. With a jump back, the distance was widened, and the pupils of Yujin's head kept vibrating. Although I can see that the chakra flow in Zuojin's body is not normal through the white eyes. However, seeing this scene suddenly scared the timid Hinata. On the sidelines of the arena, he said in surprise. So that head is not an ornament. Shikamaru rolled his eyes speechlessly. Did you listen to Naruto just now? Didn't Naruto say that? That's the big brother sleeping in my brother's body using secret techniques. The tooth suddenly nodded, then said with a frown. So is he a foul? After all, there are two of them, and Hinata is only one. Having said that, everyone immediately frowned. In fact, it is true. Unlike Kitamaru who has two extra hands, Zuo-kan and Yu-kan are two people in themselves. Now that the teeth say this, it is really suspected of fouling. Of course, Moonlight Gale, who was the chief examiner, also discovered this. Therefore, Moonlight Gale immediately dodged between the two and suspended the competition. Then, he looked towards Zuojin and said, Competitor Zuojin, since you violated the regulations of this competition is invalid and you will be cancelled. Etc. From the viewing seats on the second floor, there was a steady voice. Hearing this voice, Hinata looked up in surprise. Father? It was Hyuga Hiyashi who spoke. I saw Hyuga Hiyashi said seriously. I believe my daughter can beat the opponent, bet on. Moonlight Gale said with some embarrassment. However, the rule is one-on-one, but there is obviously another person in the left and right players, which violates the rules. The others immediately whispered to each other. According to the regulations, Zuojin did violate the regulations. However, Hinata's father personally came forward and asked for the game to continue. How this situation should be judged immediately aroused everyone's curiosity. I think it should be counted as a foul. After all, in a one-on-one battle, 2-on-1 is unfair. According to what you said, shouldn't the clone technique be disabled? After all, whoever has more clones will have an advantage, right? You're making too much sense. That's not what I mean. And the clone technique is completely incomparable with the situation below. But aren't you just talking about the superiority in numbers? Even if clone technique's avatar can't provide help in combat, Shadow Clone is a physical avatar that has enough combat power. In short, 2 against 1 is wrong. This is not a real battlefield. Of course we must pay attention to the basic fairness. Otherwise, what are the rules? HMPH. You Konohas can't afford to lose, can you? It's ridiculous. What did you say? You heard everything I said. Seeing that some people were arguing that they were going to fight, third generation stood up and said calmly. Hail, just follow Hiyashi's instructions and do it. I believe that Hiyashi will make this decision because he must have confidence in his child. We should also believe in Konoha's future. Now that the third generation had spoken, Moonlight Gale could only nod helplessly. Understood, Mood Eyes. Afterwards, Moonlight Gale left in an instant. Hinata looked at his father who was watching the competition on the second floor, his eyes gradually became firm. While Hinata was surprised by his father's trust, he also felt a heavy responsibility. After all, she is still the daughter of the patriarch, and if there is no accident, she will probably be the next patriarch of the Hyuga clan. Since you have this identity, you should bear the corresponding responsibility. That is, the reputation of the Hyuga clan must not be ruined. Especially in front of ninjas from other villages. At this moment, Hinata's eyes were firm. The trace of fright that had just been revealed had already disappeared without a trace. The battle begins again. Fang Duji took action. Zuojin looked at Hinata vigilantly. The body flicker technique shown by Hinata just now startled him. If Yukin hadn't woken up suddenly, I'm afraid Zuojin who opened the back door would have been knocked out by Hinata's combo. Just like Tayuya and the others, Zuojin didn't dare to think about the consequences. In the face of Orochimaru's wrath, I'm afraid they will all suffer a terrible punishment. Thinking of Orochimaru's various methods, Saken even began to tremble involuntarily. No matter who Orochimaru lost before their eyes, Insemaru was not something they could fight against. Big brother, I need your help, Zuojin said again. As for Yujin, he only said in a slightly rampant manner. Don't worry, with me here, no one will be our brother's opponent. Yujin's arrogance made Zuojin a little embarrassed. Yujin was sleeping most of the time, so he didn't know what was going on the court at all. Otherwise, even if he is as rampant as Yujin, he would not dare to say these words. But now, Zuojin can only rely on Yujin. With the weird body control ability, there may be a chance of victory. After waiting for a while, Hinata saw that the opponent had no intention of attacking, so he rushed over directly. Gentle Fist struck out with a fierce momentum, but was blocked by Zuo Jin. A powerful force erupts from a small body. Zuo Jin found that he couldn't bear the fist of the 7-year-old girl in front of him. The palm that caught the attack seemed to be split open. But paying these prices, at least ensured that Hinata lost the space to dodge. Suddenly, an arm stretched out from Zuo Jin's abdomen. It was Yukon, who stretched out one of his hands, clenched his fist and slammed hard at Hinata's abdomen. However, with both hands under control, Hinata twisted his waist unimaginably, and even avoided the punch that must be hit by Yukon. Varied. Zuo Jin was taken aback, and exclaimed in shock. But before he could finish speaking, severe pain interrupted his words and knocked him out heavily. It was Hinata, who ruthlessly imprinted Zuo Jin's abdomen with both feet, and kicked him flying. Hinata also used this to break free from Sakan's restraint on her hands. Unreasonable and unforgiving, Hinata did not wait for Zuo Jin to land, and his figure had already chased after him in a flash. This body flicker technique. Pain narrowed his eyes. Those brats have unbelievable body flicker technique speed. Others also noticed this, and all of them looked dignified. A group of kids who are only 7 years old, their proficiency in the body flicker technique has even surpassed those long-established ninja masters. Not only Pain and the others felt dignified, but Wukage also had a heavy face, except for the smiling generation. Seeing the sad faces of the other 4 shadows around, third generation was insanely happy. At the same time, the eyes of third generation also fell on Naruto. All of these are changes brought about by Naruto. The heart of third generation is full of relief. On the field, the battle continues. Hinata caught up with Zuo Jin, who flew upside down in an instant, and a set of 64 palms came in the air. There is no Kidomaru's gold-glued armor nearby, so the defense is much weaker. Before the fight was over, he passed out completely. But Zuo Jin was in a coma, which didn't mean that she was also in a coma. Fortunately, Hinata was not careless. Bai Yan noticed that the flow of chakra in Zuo Jin's body was not completely cut off, so Hinata didn't give Yu Jin a chance to sneak attack. Yu Jin controlled his body and stood up, pursing his lips in a posture. Obviously intending to continue fighting. At this time, a sound interrupted Yu Jin. Enough, back off. Kimimaro's flat voice reached Yu Jin's ear. You are no match for her. Yukon turned around dissatisfied. You say you can't beat it, so you can't beat it. Believe it or not, I will beat you too. A cold light flashed in Kimimaro's eyes. He didn't do anything, just looked at Yu Jin silently. If it was normal, Yu Jin would still be a little more afraid. But now Yu Jin's younger brother Zuojin was directly beaten into a coma. Although Yu Jin often complained that his younger brother was clumsy, he could not tolerate other people bullying his younger brother. Yukon, who is now in a rage, completely ignores Kimimaro and rushes straight at Hinata. Black Madara lines even began to spread from Yu Jin's face. The momentum of the whole person is also rising rapidly. Seeing this scene, Kimimaro made a decisive move. Whoosh! Amid the ear-piercing sound of piercing through the air, several white phalanges penetrated Yu Jin's body, staggering Yu Jin, and also made the black Madara spreading on Yu Jin shrink back. Stupid guy. Kimimaro said with a frown. Moonlight Gale looked at Kimimaro and said, it is also a foul to attack the contestants on the field without authorization. According to the rules, I want to cancel. He abstained. Kimimaro said lightly. Moonlight Gale was choked, and turned to look at Yu Jin, who was lying on the ground, frowning slightly. Do you think I'll admit it? And the left and near players didn't say to abstain. Kimimaro said lightly. He abstained, and I spoke for him. Naruto stood up at this moment and said. Senior Moonlight Gale, player Kimimaro doesn't know the rules after all, let's just forget about it once. Moonlight Hayate saw that it was Naruto, hesitated for a moment, then nodded and said. In that case, let's forget it this time. However, next time there is an attack on a player on the field, no one can change the fact that you abstained. Kimimaro didn't say anything, just watched the field silently. Then. Hinata won this time. Because the field was not damaged too much, the game continued quickly. Entering the field is Shino and one of Cloud Shinobi's 2 contestants. At the same time, it is also the assassination pig who hides the identity of Jonin. Only, their target is Naruto. Although it is not the target, each of these little devils is not simple. It is of course the best if one can be abolished here. The chosen Cloud Shinobi Jonin spoke softly to his companions. I went up first, I hope you will be lucky enough to meet the target. Otherwise, we can only go to the front line. Both in and out of the words reveal confidence in one's own strength. Come to the arena. Cloud Shinobi Jonin looked at the boy wearing a stand-up collar opposite him. Although he paid attention to it, he didn't pay special attention to it. As a Jonin with rich combat experience, he knows the details of the boy opposite him very well. The Aburame family is a well-known control family in Sleepy Leaf. All power is in controlling insects. Although the cultivated parasites are powerful, their own strength is not enough because of this. Therefore, as long as he can get close, Cloud Shinobi Jonin believes that he can decide the winner in the fastest time. Game start. Moonlight Gale announced the start of the game, and then flashed out of the arena. Cloud Shinobi Jonin walked over directly as soon as Moonlight Gale's voice fell. Explosive muscles give Cloud Shinobi Jonin explosive power. The distance of more than 10 meters was reached almost instantly. However, Ji now just stood still, as if he didn't react, or as if he was frightened. Got it. A cruel smile formed on the corners of Cloud Shinobi Jonin's mouth. As long as this punch is real, Cloud Shinobi Jonin can guarantee that Shino can only rely on a wheelchair to live in the future. However, at this moment, a series of short explosions sounded, and the strong blast wind instantly blew Cloud Shinobi Jonin away. And Shino stood there without moving. What happened? Cloud Shinobi Jonin was puzzled, turned around and looked at Shino, his eyes full of doubts. What exactly happened just now? How did that blast come about? It was completely unexpected and interrupted Cloud Shinobi Jonin's offensive. At this moment, Shino said lightly, "Your attack has no effect on me, because you can't even touch me." The indifferent words revealed Shino's strong self-confidence. Who are you looking down on? Cloud Shinobi Jonin was so angry that the veins popped on his forehead. When has he been so angry? Lightning-style false darkness. Lei Guang turned into an extremely sharp electric gun, and rushed over with lightning speed. However, this extremely sharp attack passed through Jinao's body. And Shino's body turned into countless black shadows in an instant, and quickly melted away. No, not ablation, instead, it turned into countless parasites. Cloud Shinobi Jonin's eyes widened and he exclaimed. How is it possible? When? Shinobi's faint voice reached Cloud Shinobi Jonin's ears. Secret technique. Insect clone. During the initial explosion, I had already left the spot, and left behind an electric clone to attract attention. Cloud Shinobi Jonin turned around abruptly, looking at Shino with his hands in his pockets, still looking calm. Didn't take the opportunity to attack me? Are you looking down on me like that? Cloud Shinobi Jonin had blue veins popping out of his forehead. He admits that Ji Nai is very capable of stealing things, but Ji Nai's indifferent appearance is really irritating. You will now pay for your arrogance, snapped. Cloud Shinobi Jonin clasped his hands together, urging chakra in his body to use a certain ninjutsu. However, Shino spoke again at this time. I wouldn't do this if I were you. Shino's words made Cloud Shinobi Jonin's movements pause. Then, Cloud Shinobi Jonin was surprised by a strange feeling coming from his body. He quickly lowered his head, his pupils staring at the sky. I saw that his body was already covered with small parasites. Although Cloud Shinobi Jonin doesn't fully understand the ability of parasites, he also knows that once he is entangled, he will definitely feel overwhelmed with pain. After all, parasites are insects that depend on chakra for food. Still, that level doesn't bother Cloud Shinobi Jonin. Do you think this level can scare me? You really underestimate people. Cloud Shinobi Jonin roared and continued to push chakra. However, with a bang, Cloud Shinobi Jonin's abdomen suddenly exploded, causing Cloud Shinobi Jonin to stagger. What? Cloud Shinobi Jonin ignored the pain from his abdomen, and looked at the explosion on his body in horror. If he hadn't guessed wrong, the source of the explosion was obviously parasites. Shino said lightly. That's my inspiration from Tianshan. Inject chakra into kunai and shuriken every day, and turn the thrown hidden weapon into an explosive device that is more powerful than the detonating talisman. As an insect operator, I naturally have a more convenient method to do this. Although it is not as powerful as Tianshan's hidden weapon, in terms of concealment, my parasite is far stronger than Tianshan's hidden weapon. You're covered in parasites that I injected into chakra in advance. That is, as long as I detonate them. Shino didn't finish his words, but it seemed as if everything had been said. The cold sweat on Cloud Shinobi Jonin's forehead flowed like a waterfall, and he didn't dare to make any movements. It's just too scary. Ya and the others looked back at Tianshan and said in surprise. When did he do this? Tianshan also looked surprised. Shino hasn't looked for me. He must have figured it out by himself? Shino continued. Although the parasites need to be sacrificed, in order to win, there will always be some unavoidable sacrifices. And this is the sacrifice I chose to protect the people I care about. If you don't want to be permanently disabled, I advise you to surrender. Cloud Shinobi Jonin, who was covered in parasites all over his body, could only swallow his saliva, looked up at Raikage's direction, and found that Raikage's face was as black as ink, and he was even more frightened and at a loss. But after struggling for a long time, Cloud Shinobi Jonin had no choice but to raise his hand and surrender. I surrender. In an instant, the parasites left Cloud Shinobi Jonin one after another and returned to Shinobi's body. Cloud Shinobi Jonin lowered his hands weakly, not even daring to look up at the movie's face. Even if you don't look at it, you know it must be ugly. The winner, Konoha Village Aburame Shino contestant. After Moonlight Gale announced the winner, it soon announced the next players. Next, it's Genin against Iwagakure. That is to say, Genin, who is on the same team as Black Soil. After some fighting, Temari won easily and successfully advanced. Because of Temari's win style, the site was destroyed a lot. After some trimming, the game continued. The next contestant, Haruno Sakura from Konoha Village, will face the red copper armor also from Konoha. Little Sakura took a deep breath. Finally, it's me. Fortunately, not against Naruto. In this way, there is still a chance to advance with Naruto. In an instant, he came to the side of Moonlight Gale, and Little Sakura looked at his opponent. A strange Konoha shinobi. Little Sakura is very strange to this person, but Little Sakura doesn't care. There are so many ninjas in Konoha, she doesn't know that there are so many ninjas. At this time, Little Sakura didn't know the true identity of the red copper armor, but it was Orochimaru's spy planted in Konoha. Of course, even if Little Sakura knew, the result wouldn't change anything. Because if Little Sakura wants to advance, he has to defeat his opponent. Game start. The red copper armor rushed over immediately. Little Sakura didn't know the details of the red copper armor. Seeing the opponent rushing over like this, he threw out 10 kunai casually. These 10 arrows shot at the vital points of the red copper armor, and some of them blocked the dodge position of the red copper armor. No matter how the red copper armor is done, it will definitely hit 2 or 3 pieces. The face of the red copper armor changed, and he held kunai with both hands and knocked down the Little Sakura's hidden weapon. But it was also blocked and could not continue to approach. In fact, as Orochimaru's spy planted in Konoha, Tashikai has a unique ability in itself. The red copper armor can devour the chakra in the opponent's body through skin contact. That's why the red copper armor pulled in the distance from Haruno Sakura in the first place. As long as the distance is narrowed for melee combat, the red copper armor will have countless opportunities to activate its own abilities and hold the initiative of the battle situation in its hands. It's a pity that the Little Sakura was cautious enough, and didn't go up to meet her at the first time, but chose to distance herself. It's kind of weird. The Little Sakura frowned slightly, seeing the way the red copper armor continued to rush over. She muttered in her heart. Originally, he didn't intend to fight close to the red copper armor, but now that the red copper armor looks like this, it is even more impossible for Little Sakura to let the opponent get close. After making up his mind, the Little Sakura kept throwing the shuriken and kunai out, blocking the progress of the red copper armor. Faced with this large number of hidden weapons, the red copper armor can only stand in place and resist with all its strength. But he only has 2 hands, facing more and more hidden weapons. Fish that slip through the net will eventually appear. Puff puff. Amidst the dull sound, Kikunai and the shuriken stabbed his body. Seeing this scene, Little Sakura's eyes lit up, and at the same time, she stopped what she was doing. And said confidently, "You've already lost." Looking at the Little Sakura with her hands on her hips and her face full of air, the red copper armor was very puzzled. This level of physical injury is nothing to me. Are you underestimating the profession of ninja? As he said, he was about to rush over. However, as soon as the red copper armor took a step, an explosion occurred on the ground. The violent blast toppled the red copper armor to the ground, and a large pit with a diameter of 3 meters directly burst out on the ground. Little Sakura shook her finger and said, "I advise you to surrender, if you don't want to be permanently disabled." Hearing this, Kiba turned his head to look at Shino. "Is Little Sakura learning how to speak from you?" Shino shook his head and said, "Have no idea. Maybe she just said it offhand." Little Sakura really said it casually. Because she has already mastered the situation in the field. The red copper armor got up from the ground and looked at the pothole in horror. Little Sakura's blasting technique is the most powerful one among the blasting techniques displayed by Xiaoqiang. This power is enough to make the red copper armor treat it with care. "Do you think that those shurikens of mine were thrown out casually?" Little Sakura said with a proud smile. "Look at your feet, you are surrounded now." The red copper armor looked down at the ground. Countless kunai and shurikens knocked down by him stuck on the ground. Suddenly, an ominous feeling emerged in the heart of the red copper armor. Could it be? The red copper armor looked ugly. He thought of one thing. That is, among these little ghosts, many of them know a powerful explosive ninjutsu. The explosion just now undoubtedly shows that the little girl named Haruno Sakura in front of him will also use this ninjutsu. The red copper armor immediately realized that the locations of these kunai and shurikens on the ground had become extremely dangerous traps. If it wasn't for little Sakura's reminder, the red copper armor would not have discovered these traps at all. It's time to step on it. Thinking of this possibility, the complexion of the red copper armor suddenly became ugly. Seeing that the opponent's complexion became extremely ugly, little Sakura was full of pride. She knew that the victory of this battle was already hers. She has laid a net under the enemy's feet. Even if the opponent can fly, Sakura will detonate the blasting chakra that is transferred to the ground with the help of hidden weapons at the moment of flying. With so many explosions happening at the same time, it is impossible for copper and aluminum to escape. How? Do you still want to continue? Little Sakura proudly crossed her hips, raised her chin and said to the red copper armor. The red copper armor hesitated for a long time, and finally could only surrender helplessly. Face this situation. He simply has no solution. Surrender is the only option for the red copper armor. The winner, Haruno Sakura of Konoha village. The little Sakura immediately cheered, bounced off the stage, came to Naruto, and said with staring eyes. Naruto-kun, I have successfully advanced. Naruto touched little Sakura's hair with a smile and said. Little Sakura is amazing. This tone and demeanor, as if facing his own sister. He. Little Sakura let out a chuckle, and turned her eyes slightly, and saw Ino biting a handkerchief with a face full of unwillingness. Damn it. Why didn't I expect Naruto-kun to praise me? Ino let out a low growl that didn't dare. On the other side, Hinata looked at little Sakura enviously. I also want to be rubbed on the head by Naruto-kun. It's a pity that Hinata's voice is too low. Even Neji, who is next to Hinata, can only hear a little sound, and can't hear what Hinata said clearly. After the game ended, there were not many candidates left who hadn't started the game yet. As for Konoha, there are Naruto, Sasuke and Xiao Li, as well as Ken Maesumi, who is known as Konoha Shinobi but is actually a ninja spy. Iwagakure was wiped out. Sanagakure has Gaara left. There are also Kimimaro and Sakk stirrups in Yinin village. And Jonin disguised as Genin at Cloud Shinobi village. 8 people. 4 games. It means that there are only 4 people left who will advance to the next stage. The random numbers on the walls also began to become fixed. Thought there were only 8 numbers left. Soon, the opponent for the next game was determined. Moonlight Gale looked at the numbers, and then announced the 2 contestants. Ken Masumi of Konoha village, against Saktup of Itonin village. Seeing this scene, Naruto almost laughed out loud. The Yinin village on the bright side faces the spies of the Yinin village hidden in Konoha. This is good news for Orochimaru. At least one person can be guaranteed to advance. There is not much difference in strength between the two, and in the end the older Jian Meichung won. After a brief sight restoration period, the penultimate match officially began. Moonlight Hayate glanced at the numbers on the wall, and then announced the 2 contestants for this battle. Locke Lee of Konoha village, against Kagaya Kimimaro of Inoha village. Locke Lee immediately waved his arms excitedly. Finally it's my turn. Watching you fight before has already made my blood boil. With a whoosh, Xiao Li came to the training ground. This speed is very terrifying. Leo didn't even use the body flicker technique. Come on. Everyone has advanced, don't hold back. Y'all loudly cheered, but it was more of a pressure. But this little pressure can only become more motivation for Xiao Li, who is full of fighting spirit. Shikamaru said more cautiously. Be careful, Xiao Li's opponent looks unusual. All his teammates lost before, but this person didn't even frown. And he directly beat his teammates to serious injuries before. In short, this person cannot be underestimated. Naruto is very confident in Xiao Li. Don't worry, Xiao Li won't be careless. Although he is a bit reckless, his intuition has always been accurate when it comes to fighting. Neji nodded and said. That's right, his combat talent is probably only lower than Naruto's, if it wasn't limited by his aptitude. Qualifications. Even with Naruto's guidance, Xiao Li's achievements in ninjutsu are still far behind other people. However, in terms of physical skills, dodge skills, and body flicker technique, Xiao Li's strength is top-notch. Even if Sasuke didn't activate the Sharingan, he couldn't catch Xiao Li quickly. In Kirigakure Jonin, Terumi Mei looks at Kimimaro and frowns. This young man is the Wei Yoruichi tribe. I didn't expect that there are survivors in this tribe. The Wei Yoruichi are very aggressive. There was even a rebellion, in which this warlike race was wiped out. Terumi Mei didn't expect there to be survivors. and in this mysterious Yinin village. At present, no one has found out who is behind the Yinin village. The 5 major nations are all very curious about this mysterious ninja village where 9 people have broken through the second test. But obviously now is not a suitable time to investigate. In the field, the only ones who know the details of Otashimura are Naruto, Sasuke and little Sakura. After all, Orochimaru had shown his face before them, though it wasn't Orochimaru's intention. Game start. Moonlight Gale announced the start of the game, and then withdrew from the field. On the other side of Yinin village, Tayuya and the others watched intently. After a period of time, the comatose people have all woken up. They knew very well that they had completely failed in the task assigned by Orochimaru. Now only Kimimaro, the village's last hope, remains. The opponent is Konoha's kid. Kimimaro should be fine, right? Kitamaru couldn't help being suspicious. After all, these Konoha little ghosts were really weird. Not to mention the strength of each one, they are still very young, which gives people a feeling of confusion. Although they didn't keep their hands, they were still eliminated in a snappy manner. Of course, Kitamaru was also a little unwilling. If he could use the power of the curse seal, Kitamaru would not believe that he would be defeated so easily. Don't forget, he's from the Yoruichi clan, and he's awakened the blood succession limit. Zuo Jin said with a gloomy face. As soon as Zuo Jin woke up, he felt severe pain in his body. Then I saw multiple penetrating wounds on the body. Knowing from other people that it was Kimimaro who beat him like this, the anger in my heart is even higher. But now Zuo Jin dare not attack. After all, there are too many people here, and Orochimaru is on it. Trust Kimimaro, he is our only hope now. Dayu also sighed and said. If even he fails, then we fail completely. At that time, because the adults will not leave us losers. Hearing Tayuya's words, the others suddenly became silent. Just thinking about the possible outcome gave them the creeps. That's certainly not a good thing. The battle begins. Although Xiao Li was excited, he didn't attack first. Instead, it circles Kimimaro at a jogging speed. But Xiao Li's jogging is only relative to himself. For other people, Xiao Li's speed is too fast. The pure physical speed can be so fast, Darui said with a serious face, surprised. If he can use lightning-style ninjutsu. Hearing what Darui said, the nearby cloud shinobi Jonin thought for a while, and suddenly thought of the scary side. Samyi shuddered, wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and said. This is terrible, but fortunately this is a secret technique that belongs to Raikage-sama alone. After observing for a few seconds, Xiao Li tentatively attacked. A dodge appeared on the right side of Kimimaro, the diary leg with the afterimage wolf side. Kimimaro had been on guard for a long time. Although he was very surprised by Xiao Li's speed, he still reacted in time. A layer of bone protection suddenly appeared at the attacked position. The time is too short. Kimimaro can only do this one step to defend, and does not have enough stabs to counterattack. However, Kimimaro's bones are as hard as steel. But Xiao Li's kick is even more powerful. The condensed bone protection was completely shattered at the moment of contact. However, it also offset most of the power of Xiao Li's attack. But Kimimaro was still thrown out by a whip leg. Boom. With a loud noise, Kimimaro slammed into the wall heavily, making a big hole. Xiao Li stopped and looked at the wall filled with smoke and dust. Although Xiao Li didn't use his full strength for this kick, Xiao Li was confident that ordinary people couldn't resist it at all. And rashly chasing, there will be some risks. Whoosh. A figure sprang out from the smoke and came to Xiao Li. It was Kimimaro. It's just that Kimimaro's appearance has changed a lot at this time. I saw sharp bone spurs protruding from Kimimaro's palms, elbows, knees, and shoulder blades. Makes him look like a spiky monster. Hey! What is this guy? Tooth was taken aback and shouted. Everyone else, too, was surprised by Kimimaro's change. Then they all set their sights on Naruto. In their view, if you encounter a question you don't know, just ask Naruto, and you will definitely get the answer from him. And Naruto lived up to their expectations, and revealed Kimimaro's identity lightly. Kimimaro is a member of the Wei Yoruichi tribe, and the Wei Yoruichi tribe comes from Kirigakure, which is a very good ethnic group. There is a unique bloodline in their group called Dead Bone Pulse. Awakened blood successors can freely control their own bones and use them as weapons and armor. I remember the referee calling him Kagaya Kimimaro. Choji ate his potato chips, trying to remember what happened less than a minute ago. The others looked back at Choji helplessly. Shikamaru said. Everyone knows this kind of thing. You don't need to remind. You should eat quickly. Don't delay your energy replenishment. Alright. Choji is no longer involved, but speeds up his eating. Although the previous battle did not consume much chakra, as the Akamichi family, timely replenishment of energy and chakra in the body is a must. Faced with Kimimaro, whose image has changed drastically, Xiao Li did not hold back. Xiao Li has seen the hardness of this bone just now. It's firm, but not to the point where it won't budge. It can be crushed with half the force, however, it is difficult to hurt the opponent. Therefore, the next step is to increase strength. Xiao Li's eyes froze, his figure flashed again, and he reappeared in front of Kimimaro. Kimimaro danced his body immediately, and the sharp bone spurs protruding from his joints turned into deadly blades, threatening anyone who dared to get close. But Xiao Li's speed is even faster. With 2 kicks, he directly broke the bone spur that popped out of Kimimaro's palm, and put his kick on the unprepared Kimimaro's chest. Whoosh! Boom! Kimimaro was kicked again, punching another big hole in the wall. However, the strong ability to resist blows only made a trace of bloodline appear on the corner of Kimimaro's mouth. In fact, after receiving Xiao Li's first kick, Kimimaro had condensed enough to explain the bone layer under his skin. Once attacked, it will immediately condense to resist the enemy's attack. This is why Kimimaro was not kicked out, it's really solid. Tooth said in amazement. We all know how strong the teeth are, but this person was able to take 2 hard hits, and it looked like he was only slightly injured 80%. Naruto explained. He can control the density of his bones, as long as the density is hard enough, even steel is not as hard as his bones. Shikamaru gasped. It's really weird, there are such weird blood successor boundaries. Naruto said with a smile. The ninja world is huge, and there are always many things you don't know. And the blood succession boundary is very mysterious, even if there are 2 changes of the same chakra's interest, the blood succession boundary that appears together may be different. Oh. Shikamaru nodded half comprehensively, and stared at the exhibition with his eyes suddenly fixed. Kimimaro took the initiative this time. In an instant, he came to Xiao Li's side, and the bone spur in his hand suddenly slashed across Xiao Li's body. Whoosh! However, this blow directly passed Xiao Li's body, but there was no real feeling of hitting. Oops! Kimimaro immediately realized something was wrong. Xiao Li's body in front of him turned into a phantom and disappeared. This turned out to be an afterimage left by too fast speed. Not even a clone technique. There was a strong wind coming from behind, and Kimimaro had no time to turn around to deal with it, so he could only use his best to push the blood follower limit. Swish. The clothes on the back were cut by a large number of bone spurs and turned into a pile of rags. Countless sharp bony spurs shone white, waiting for Xiao Li to throw himself into the net. But at this critical moment, Xiao Li abruptly stopped the attack, his figure disappeared in a flash, and then appeared in front of Kimimaro. At the same time, Xiao Li's attack continued. Varied. Kimimaro's pupils quake, but this time he has no time to react. The whip leg that condensed 70% of Xiao Li's strength hit Kimimaro's chest firmly. In the next moment, Kimimaro flew upside down like a fired shell with an afterimage. Boom. With a loud bang, the entire wall was knocked down. This foot is really heavy. Teeth stunned. Has the opponent already hung up? Neji said. Don't worry, people are fine. Saying that, Neji rolled his eyes back. Obviously observed Kimimaro's physical state through the white eyes. But having said that, Neji was even more surprised. It's really solid, is it all right? Naruto said with a smile. It's impossible to be okay, even if you suffer this, you will definitely break your bones. But don't forget, Xiao Li's opponent can freely control his own bones, and he can heal any broken bones casually. Tooth suddenly nodded. So it is. It's really a convenient ability. Not only can it create weapons at any time, but it can also defend. I just saw those spikes on his back. I'm worried for Xiao Li. As a result, even the fractured injuries can be easily recovered. It's really a monster. Naruto smiled, then said. Looking at it this way, it is indeed very strong, but awakening this kind of blood inheritance limit means that his body has already been burdened with a curse. The more times he uses the blood inheritance boundary, his lifespan will be shortened. This is a genetic disease obtained by awakening dead bone pulse. According to the records, it is very difficult for a person who has awakened dead bone pulse to live beyond the age of 30. Hearing what Naruto said, the others fell silent. Unexpectedly, this seemingly powerful force hides such a huge disaster. Second floor. Atonin Jonin in Orochimaru's disguise frowned silently watching the battle below. There was a murmur in my heart. I didn't expect that apart from Naruto and Sasuke, there were people from a big family like Neji, and even a commoner like Xiao Li had such a strong strength. Kimimaro can be regarded as Orochimaru's right-hand man. It can even be said to be the strongest subordinate. Kimimaro was the strongest at least before Do got the inheritance of Orochimaru. Not to mention that Kimimaro also has the bonus of Curse Seal. If it weren't for blood-inherited disease, Kimimaro could be said to be Orochimaru's best soul container before meeting Naruto and the others. It's a pity that Orochimaru didn't dare to do this before he solved the blood-inherited disease. As a result, Orochimaru's trusted right-hand man turned out to be beaten helplessly by a little civilian of Konoha. Faced with this result, Orochimaru was very shocked. It appears that this plan failed, Orochimaru said secretly in his heart. Kimimaro, who was sent flying out, lay on the ground outside for a long time before he relieved the severe pain in his body. For a moment, Kimimaro felt like his body was falling apart. Fortunately, that was just his illusion. At this time, the referee Moonlight Gale came to his side. Kimimaro, ahem, are you sure you can continue to fight? Kimimaro's eyes froze for a moment. Without saying a word, he turned over and stood up from the ground, then rushed in along the broken wall. At the same time, Kimimaro's body has numerous bone spurs, making him look like a big hedgehog. Can't get close at all. Xiao Li frowned, facing Kimimaro, who was rushing towards him. He could only temporarily avoid the edge. For a while, the scene was suppressed by Junma Chuan. Isn't this too rambunctious? Ya immediately called out for Xiao Li. How can people fight like this? Xiao Li is not good at ninjutsu. Shikamaru clicked his ears, but there was no worried expression on his face. Don't worry, Xiao Li won't be troubled to this extent. Xiao Li didn't make a move all the time, probably because he was worried about kicking his opponent to death. When Ya thought of Xiao Li's full firepower, he immediately touched the bridge of his nose. Really, it is still far from Xiao Li's full strength. Not to mention that Xiao Li hasn't used the 8 inner gates yet. Even if he doesn't use the 8 inner gates, Xiao Li's 100% strength is enough to deal with Kimimaro. Finally winning? A happy look appeared on Tayuya's face. I just saw Kimimaro being kicked out several times, and their complexions became ugly. Seeing that Kimimaro has taken control of the situation, everyone immediately beamed with joy. At least, not all of them will be eliminated. It's too early to say that. Zuo Jin's face was still ugly. Didn't you see how easy Kimimaro's opponent is? Don't forget the speed of that watermelon head. Now this is far from his limit speed. When Zuo Jin said this, the others immediately thought of Xiao Li's unbelievable speed. There is also the action of forcibly stopping one's own attack when attacking. No matter how you look at it, you can see Xiao Li's ability to do a job with ease. So after a little thought, they will know. The current suppression is only superficial. As long as Xiao Li made a counterattack, the situation might change immediately. They just got excited when Zuo Jin poured a basin of cold water on their heads. At this time, the situation of the scene changed suddenly. Xiao Li, who had been dodging Kimimaro's attack, suddenly disappeared. Disappeared directly in front of everyone. Xiao Li once again showed his incredible speed. This speed. Darui opened his mouth wide in shock. He didn't even see Xiao Li's movements clearly. Killer Bee also showed a dignified look. This is just pure physical speed, without any ninjutsu bonus. It's really, really scary. Having lost his target, Kimimaro stopped immediately. I looked left and right but couldn't find Xiao Li. At this time, a gust of wind appeared in my ears. But before he could react, a huge force was directly on his shoulders. The sharp and strong bone spurs were directly kicked off, and there was not even enough power to counteract this blow. However, this hasn't been played yet. The moment Kimimaro flew out uncontrollably, Xiao Li followed up abruptly, launching a series of fierce attacks on Kimimaro continuously. And Kimimaro couldn't even make any response to Xiao Li's offensive. The whole person's brain was blanked by the continuous heavy blows. In the end, after bearing more than a dozen feet from Xiao Li, Kimimaro finally didn't dare to bear the burden and passed out completely. At this time, all the bone spurs on Kimimaro's body had been broken by Xiao Li. Moonlight Gale immediately came to Kimimaro's side, and after confirming that Kimimaro was still alive, he announced loudly. Winner. Lock season selection of Sleepy Leaf Village. When Xiao Li heard it, he waved his fist excitedly. I won. The entire army of Yinin Village was wiped out. Kimimaro, who had high hopes, was not able to beat Konoha Village's 7-year-old kid. Looking at Kimimaro, who passed out completely, Tayuya and others fell into silence. A breath of despair lingered in their hearts. They failed. Did not complete the task assigned by Orochimaru. What will be waiting for them? They dare not imagine. Even, they dared not look up to see Orochimaru's reaction. Afraid to see an extremely terrifying face, however, in fact. For the current situation, Orochimaru can say, is expected. After all, not even Orochimaru himself has ever beaten Naruto and Sasuke. and also personally experienced the strength of Neji. So Orochimaru knew very well that it was basically impossible for his subordinates to win these powerful little ghosts without opening the curse seal. Moreover, apart from Kimimaro, I am afraid that even if other people use the curse seal, they will still lose. While Orochimaru was shocked by this result, his interest in Naruto and these little ghosts became even stronger. Orochimaru was just too curious. What is the reason that these children have such a speed of progress far beyond ordinary people? As a researcher, Orochimaru is interested in this matter. What he wants to do most now is to catch a kid or two and bring them to his lab for a deep dissection. Pity. Now Orochimaru can only bear the excitement. After all, if he reveals his identity here, it may be difficult for him to leave alive. There are 4 left. Orochimaru murmured softly. The next ones to advance are probably Sasuke and Naruto. Orochimaru didn't consider the possibility of Sasuke and Naruto pairing up at all. In terms of probability, this possibility is not low. But Orochimaru has already seen through this random shady scene. Black box operation. From beginning to end, there was not a single civil war within Konoha village. All are candidates for Konoha village against other ninja villages. This probability is really unbelievable. Orochimaru knew his teacher all too well. Glancing vaguely at the 3rd generation where the old god was present, Orochimaru couldn't help but chuckle contemptuously. You self-righteous old fox. Do you think that others can't see through your means? In fact, anyone with a brain knows that the randomness this time is not complete. In other words, randomness is reflected in Konoha village randomly fighting against other ninja villages. One of the parties has identified Konoha village, and the other party cannot be Konoha village. When the preliminaries were halfway through, everyone realized this. Reikage and Tsuchikage, who were sitting next to 3rd generation, cursed inwardly. Cunning old fox. It's ugly to eat. The old god Fengyiang Luosha is here, because Sanagakure's 3 people have already advanced to 2. And Luosha doesn't care about this. Luosha cares more about whether Gaara can match up with Naruto. This is the purpose of Luosha, using the power of the tailed beast in Gaara to eradicate the threat of Naruto. As for why Mizukage didn't respond, it was naturally because Yagura was being controlled by Obito and had no thoughts of his own. And Obito doesn't care about such things. The reason why Obito took the risk to take this Chunin exam was for one purpose. Get rid of Naruto. And now, he has an opportunity in front of him. What did you say? Kirigakure is empty. Kirigakure is indeed empty. But it doesn't mean that Obito has no solution. Don't forget, what Obito is best at is using illusions to control people's hearts. Even 4th Mizukage is under his control. A mere Jonin is no problem. That's right. Another Cloud Shinobi masquerading as a candidate, Jonin, has been secretly controlled by Obito. And Reikage I didn't see this at all. The grounds were damaged a lot, mainly the repair of the walls took a lot of time. Looks like a lot of wasted time. Sasuke, who had been waiting for a long time, became a little impatient. Get started. Don't waste time. Moonlight Gale shook his head and said. No, it is necessary to ensure the fairness of the game, so the field must be kept in good condition. Naruto stood up and said, Senior Examiner, there are only 2 games left in the competition, there is absolutely no need to waste time to fix it. We have no opinion on this, presumably the other 2 should have no opinion either. Saying that, Naruto's eyes fell on Gaara. Anyway, with Gaara on the stage, I am afraid that this field will not be able to stay. Naruto is well aware of Luosha's plan. But it's just a one-tail, it's not a strong opponent for Naruto, at most it's a bit rough and fleshy. It happens to be a sandbag to practice hands. After all, there are not many opponents who can resist Naruto's repeated attacks. It is really no fun to fight if you instantly kill it as soon as you make a move. Yes. Obviously, the opponents for the remaining 2 games have not yet been determined. But Naruto has determined that his opponent will definitely be Gaara. As for the reason, it still lies in the 3rd generation. Although 3rd generation is old, it is not old and confused. Since confirming Gaara's Jinchuriki identity, 3rd generation guessed Kazekage Ross's purpose. However, Modai is not worried about this. After all, Naruto is the 9 tails Jinchuriki, and Naruto's own strength is already very strong. Even in the face of tail beasts, he still has the power to fight. Of course, at this time, 3rd generation already had a disjointed understanding of Naruto's strength. The 3rd generation has limited knowledge of Naruto, and has no idea of Naruto's true strength at all. But 3rd generation still has full confidence in Naruto. Reassuring Naruto is one aspect, and on the other hand, 3rd generation does not intend to let Gaara fight Sasuke. Because Sasuke is from Uchiha. As for the ability of Uchiha's Sharingan, third generation knows all too well. If during the battle, Sasuke controlled the Rampage One-Tail Shuzuru, then Konoha would ignore the diplomacy with Tsunagakure. After all, it is regarded as robbing someone's things. Therefore, third generation will definitely not choose to pit Gaara against Sasuke. Moonlight Gale frowned slightly. He wanted to stick to his opinion, but Naruto stood up and spoke, which still made him hesitate. Seeing this scene, Sasuke couldn't help curling his lips, his eyes full of dissatisfaction. I said stick to fairness, Naruto said you just think about it? Should we treat it differently? Such an obvious double standard made Sasuke very dissatisfied, and a surge of anger suddenly surged in his heart. Moonlight Gale couldn't make a judgment, so he could only look up at third generation. Third generation nodded slightly. For Naruto's request, even if it is unreasonable, third generation will choose a reasonable answer. What's more, this is not a big problem. You have no objections, what about you? Moonlight Gale looked at Gaara and Cloud Shinobi Jonin. Gaara and Cloud Shinobi Jonin shook their heads silently, expressing no opinion. Moonlight Gale said immediately. Well, since none of you have any objections, ahem, the game will continue. As his voice fell, the random numbers on the wall jumped rapidly. Even if there are only 4 numbers jumping. However, even though they knew that the randomness of the battle was full of shady scenes, everyone's eyes still focused on the wall. Whose battle will start first, they wonder. Soon, the answer appeared. Moonlight Galewind saw the battle numbers and then announced. Konoha Village's Uchiha Sasuke, against Konoha Village's Kuri. Cut. Seeing that his opponent was not Gaara, Sasuke couldn't help curling his lips and walked onto the field dissatisfied. Compared with this ordinary-looking opponent, Sasuke wants to fight against the unique Gaara. On the second floor, Fungying Luosha frowned suddenly. Since Gaara did not appear this time, it means that the next game must be a battle between Gaara and Naruto. This is exactly what Luosha wants. Even his brows stretched a little. On the bench, Kankuro and Temari couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when they saw the result of the battle. At least, their tasks will be known today. As for the result, it is not up to the two of them. And facing many Konoha Village 7-year-old monsters, the two were also a little scared. Even though their age is similar to the kids in Konoha Village, the difference in strength is too great. As long as Gaara completes the task, they don't need to work hard to win the impossible victory in the next round. In the corner of the second floor, the moment I saw the result of the battle, Hoshigaki Kisame whistled. Yo, isn't this your brother? How about it, looking forward to it? Itachi. Itachi didn't say a word, his eyes fixed on Sasuke with his hands in his pockets, and there was a flash of worry. After leaving for a long time, Itachi doesn't have a real sense of Sasuke's strength now. And with Itachi's eyes, it can be seen that Cloud Shinobi Jonin is abnormal. Itachi is very worried that Sasuke will be injured here, but even more worried that Sasuke will lose here and feel frustrated. I don't care about the game, never said. The next game is the key point. After hearing this, several people quickly realized the specialness of the next match. A battle between two Jinchuriki. Indeed, for us, it is more worthy of attention. After all, it is also our goal in the future. It is also a good thing to collect more information now. The point is Naruto, Tsunagakure's Jinchuriki is not worth mentioning, it doesn't have the oppression of Naruto at all. Indeed, but you still need to pay attention to the points that should be paid attention to. When the time is right, when it's our turn to appear on the stage, we can take them all into the bag. Itachi did not participate in the discussion of several people. At this time, Itachi's eyes all fell on Sasuke, and his heart was full of worry. Be careful, Sasuke. Something is wrong with the enemy. Among the mist shinobi ninjas, Obito, who was hiding his figure, flashed a trace of annoyance in his eyes. Although Obito also knows that the chance of meeting Naruto here is not great, but seeing Naruto pass by, Obito is still very dissatisfied. Although you are Itachi's younger brother, this is where you stop. If you want to hate, hate that the third generation chose Naruto and abandoned you. Obito's target has always been Naruto. However, the Jonin he selected is really disappointing. Annihilated directly in the Forest of Death. As a result, in the end, Obito could only recontrol one of the promoted Cloud Shinobi Jonin with illusion, and continue to implement his plan. Certainly. Obito also knew that with only one Cloud Shinobi Jonin, it was impossible to pose any threat to Naruto. Therefore, when Obito controlled this Cloud Shinobi Jonin named Kuri, he also set up a very insidious illusion. The purpose is to be able to perform sneak attacks by surprise. Once the Cloud Shinobi Ninja casts the Sharingan illusion, Obito believes that even Naruto will be taken aback. This is Obito's opportunity, unfortunately. This Kuri did not meet Naruto, but met Sasuke, who is also Uchiha. Therefore, if he wants to continue to face Naruto, Wong can only defeat Sasuke here. Obito didn't take Sasuke seriously, a 7-year-old Uchiha kid. Even if you are a genius, what tricks can you play? Although Obito has already met the gifted children who awakened Mangekyo among the younger generation of the Uchiha clan. But that doesn't include Sasuke. And so, with a touch of contempt, the battle between Obito-controlled Kuri and the rage-filled Sasuke begins. Under Obito's control, Kuri rushed straight towards Sasuke at an extremely fast speed without saying a word. Sasuke put his hands in his pockets and closed his eyes. Seeing that Kuri's attack was about to hit Sasuke, Sasuke opened his eyes suddenly. Amaterasu. Tears of blood flowed down Sasuke's cheeks and across the corners of his cold mouth. Black flames suddenly appeared, covering the whole body of the room. Severe pain instantly swept over Kuri's nerves. This inhuman pain made Kuri escape Obito's illusion control. Ah! Kuri fell to the ground and rolled, letting out a miserable cry. In front of him, Sasuke put his hands in his pockets, watching condescendingly. His eyes were extremely cold. As soon as the black flame came out, the audience was shocked. What the hell is this flame? Why is it black? It looks so ominous, it's definitely a cursed flame. The miserable cry, this black flame is definitely not simple. The shriek that even a ninja can't bear. What kind of pain is he enduring? It's really scary. Cold sweat broke out on Orochimaru's forehead. He felt a mortal threat on the black flame. At this moment, Orochimaru was extremely grateful. Fortunately, Sasuke didn't use this trick when fighting him. If Orochimaru guessed correctly, this black flame can even hurt the soul. For Orochimaru, the body is just a container, and the soul is his most important root. Orochimaru, who has learned the living corpse reincarnation, already has a lifespan equivalent to eternity. Therefore, Orochimaru places great value on the soul. Right now, Orochimaru felt the trembling from the soul amidst the black flames. This black flame must not be touched. Obito, hidden in the mist shinobi ninja, widened his eyes the instant the illusion control was severed. Obito looked at Sasuke in shock and couldn't believe it. How can it be? He has a Mangekyo. Could it be that his aptitude is stronger than his big brother? No matter how much Obito doesn't want to accept the fact, the situation is that his plan has completely failed. Now, there are not many people he can control. And the next exam process will be in public. This undoubtedly increases the risk of his shot. This internal preliminaries is Obito's last chance. Unfortunately, it is no longer available. Just as shocked as Obito was Uchiha Itachi, who was watching the game on the second floor. At this moment, Itachi also widened his eyes, also unable to believe it. Itachi never imagined that before he left, he was only Yigoyu's younger brother, and in the past few months, he already had Mangekyo Sharingan? Thinking of the Mangekyo of those children in the village, Itachi fell into deep doubts. When did Mangekyo become so worthless? How can there be someone from Uchiha? This black flame looks very similar to your ability, Itachi. As Itachi's partner, Hoshigaki Kisame has naturally seen Itachi's Mangekyo pupil technique. For this black inflammation, it is naturally familiar. He's my younger brother, and the Mangekyo pupil technique is as normal as mine. Itachi tried his best to pretend that his voice was normal, but if he listened carefully, he could still feel a slight trembling in Itachi. However, Gonshi Guixia didn't hear it, but said with a smile. As expected of your younger brother, with such a strong talent, he has already awakened eyes like yours at this age. I said, do you want to absorb him into the organization? Conan frowned. Not everyone can join the organization. Before passing the assessment, people can't easily join us. Kisame said indifferently. I'm just giving a suggestion, whether to adopt it or not is naturally Pain's business. Pain watched the battle below silently, expressionless, and didn't know what he was thinking. Pain said slowly after hearing his name mentioned by Kisame. Now is not the time, and we have enough numbers for the time being. If you want to back out and give him your seat, then say otherwise. Forget it then. Hoshigaki Kisame laughed and changed the subject. Speaking of which, is that Cloud Shinobi guy going to die? This flame has no intention of going out at all. If this kills someone, doesn't it mean being eliminated? Everyone's thoughts were immediately diverted, and they watched Kuri, whose wailing gradually weakened on the ground. After a few seconds, Kuri's voice became weaker and weaker until there was no more sound. This immediately caused an uproar. Is it really dead? Uchiha's brat has a grudge against this man. How could he hit so hard? There must be a personal vendetta, otherwise, why would you hit such a heavy hand? The way I see it, Uchiha guys are all perverts, they're a bunch of lunatics. Hush. Keep your voice down, do you want to die? Referee. Hurry up and take a look. What if the person is really dead? Aren't you going to stop that kid? He's going to kill people. Moonlight Hayate was a little embarrassed, looking at Sasuke for a while, and Curry on the ground for a while. Because it was close enough, Moonlight Gale could feel that Curry was still alive. Logically speaking, Bai Rang should continue. But Moonlight Hayate felt that Sasuke's behavior was life-threatening to Curry, and as a referee, he should stop it. The two ideas conflicted in my mind, making Yu Guang Galifang unable to make a decision for a while. At this time, Sasuke closed his eyes, and at the same time, the burning flames on Curry's body were gradually extinguished until they disappeared without a trace. Moonlight Gale took a look and found that Curry had no intention of continuing to stand up, and a flash appeared beside him. He stretched out his hand and checked Curry's breath to confirm whether Curry was dead. Sasuke put his hands in his pockets, turned around and walked towards the player's bench. Announce the result. He has passed out, and it is impossible to wake up within 3 or 4 days. Sasuke said lightly. Sasuke can be said to be proficient in the control of black inflammation. In addition to these 2 days of hard training, it is also because the flame control in Sasuke's other eye has the ability to control the black flame of Amaterasu. Therefore, Sasuke is sure that Curry will not die, and there are no other serious injuries except for some superficial burns. Curry will pass out because of the unreasonable great pain caused by Hei Yan. Even if Curry is Jonin, it's totally unbearable. Moonlight Hayate didn't listen to Sasuke, and after insisting on checking Curry's situation, he breathed a sigh of relief. The victory and defeat have been decided. The winner is Uchiha Sasuke of Konoha Village. There was a series of cheers from Konoha's ninjas. Sasuke is indeed the son of Master Fugaku. This talent is too strong. What a powerful black flame. He is indeed a genius of our Uchiha clan. Ha ha ha. This is the power of our Uchiha. Come here if you are not afraid of death. All are Jonin of Uchiha. They followed behind Fugaku, cheering. As for Fugaku, he looked at his son with a face full of relief. The results of the special training in the past few days have been very good. Not enough, and this is just the beginning. Sasuke is far from showing his true strength. Fugaku is looking forward to what kind of expressions the people present will show when Sasuke shows his strongest strength. Just wait and see. Sasuke will show you the true power of Uchiha. Fugaku thought proudly. Not far away, hidden among the mist shinobi ninjas, the king's expression was extremely solemn. It seems that in addition to the obstacle of Naruto, there is a new obstacle. In the plan to collect tail beasts, Sasuke, who is also Uchiha will definitely become a bigger obstacle. Absolutely, not on him to grow up. I already have Mangekyo now, and when he grows up, I don't know what kind of terrifying monster he will become. Obito's mind races, thinking of plans and possibilities to take down Naruto and Sasuke. However, no matter how he searched, he could not find a 100% possibility of eradicating these two people. These two are really too strong. Strong, unfathomable. But they are only 7 years old. Age. What was I doing when I was 7? I wasn't even a genin when I was 7. It turns out that his strength has already surpassed Kage level? Obito thought with some breakdown. He just felt that there were too many obstacles in his way. Obviously, he just wants to rebuild a world with Lin. Why are there so many people blocking his steps? At this moment, Wang Xinrui was shocked. By contrast, Itachi also feels incredible though, but Itachi's heart was filled with relief. My foolish brother, have you come to me and marched with me? Then my eyes will be useful, right? Although betrayed by the third generation, Itachi's heart is full of resentment towards the third generation. But in the end, Sasuke is the person Itachi cares most about. For this reason, it doesn't matter even if Itachi is asked to give up the hatred in his heart. But now is not the time. Wait, Sasuke. I will not blind your eyes. Itachi spoke softly, with firm eyes. On the field. As the winner, Sasuke casually walked back to his original position. After a brief vent, part of Sasuke's inner anger dissipated, but there was still more anger and ministers in his heart. Coming to Naruto, Sasuke said without turning his head. I'm waiting for you, don't let me down. Naruto chuckled and said. Don't worry, when have I let others down? With that said, he walked out with firm eyes. Next, is the final battle of the preliminaries. Burned and unconscious, Cloud Shinobi Jonin has been taken away on a stretcher for treatment. The faces of the Cloud Shinobi ninjas were all very ugly. After all, they were their colleagues, and it turned out that they were injured so badly. After being cured, I am afraid that I will lose the possibility of continuing to be a ninja. However, Naruto, who appeared immediately after, quickly attracted everyone's attention. After all, The people who are still staying now are all staying because they have other purposes for Naruto. Finally out. Orochimaru licked his tongue, burning desire in his eyes. But he quickly suppressed this desire, so as not to be noticed as a big anomaly. Orochimaru turned his head and looked around, and immediately noticed some eyes with ulterior motives towards Naruto-like. It seems that you are very popular, Uzumaki Naruto. Orochimaru smiled darkly, and his thoughts began to come alive. He is considering whether he can find a suitable opportunity from this. But soon Orochimaru gave up. It was too risky. In front of 5 cages, it is completely impossible to take away Naruto, who everyone is paying attention to. No matter how big the chaos is created, it is impossible. So Orochimaru quickly quenched the burning desire in his heart. Damn it. I can only stare blankly now. Raikage's eyes widened, burning with anger. The tragedy of his subordinates made him very angry at the moment, but he couldn't attack. After all, it is obviously against the rules for Jonin to conceal his identity to take the Chunin exam. If you still take advantage of this, it will undoubtedly leave people with something to talk about. Therefore, no matter how angry she was, Mian could only endure it. Although I can't wait to eat Naruto alive at the moment. Wait for you to fall into my hands. Wait for me to squeeze out the secret of your becoming stronger, and it will be your death. Uzumaki Naruto. Ai's teeth were clenched, his temples were bulging, and his anger was clearly evident. On the side, Onogi looked at Ai's state and couldn't help but chuckle. Inoki is also very aware of Naruto's threat. But Onoki had seen Naruto's extraordinary supersonic speed. Onoki knew not to act rashly until enough traps were set. It seems that the muscular man Raikage is deflated. He must have placed someone among the candidates. As a result, there is not a single one left. It's really stupid. Onoki snickered heartily, showing no sympathy for Cloud Shinobi's situation, only gloating. Anyway, the relationship between the two villages has not been very good. Onoki is also a person who is very good at betrayal. As long as there is enough interest, Inoki can betray allies. Fortunately, I didn't join in blindly, and Iwagakure's loss is not big. Cloud Shinobi and Mist Shinobi must have lost a lot. But by comparison, Mizukage looks pretty plain. Onogi looked at Yagura, who was expressionless. Compared with I, who showed his anger without a doubt, Yagura is like a puppet, completely unmoved. Obviously Kirigakure also suffered a heavy loss in this Chunin exam. But Citrus Yagura seemed very calm as if nothing had happened. This can't help but make Onoki a little confused. Could those who were inserted be victims of faction warfare? Or is Kirigakure up to something else? Onoki frowned slightly, thinking about various possibilities. However, no matter how much Onogi tried to figure it out, he couldn't figure out that the majestic shadow of a village was actually controlled by others with illusion. Now, hidden among the Mist Shinobi ninjas, Obito gritted his teeth as he watched Naruto appear below him. As soon as he saw Naruto, Obito felt a dull pain in his body. Even if Obito knew, it was just his illusion. But Obito still remembers the punches he received from Naruto when he was carrying out the plan with Itachi, and even shattered his mask. If Obito hadn't used Kamui to hide at the last moment, I'm afraid Obito's identity would have been exposed. We must find an opportunity to get rid of him as soon as possible. Obito has personally experienced Naruto's strength, and knows how much Naruto hinders his plan. It's not that Obito didn't think about using all the people in the Akatsuki organization to deal with Naruto, but he always lacked this opportunity. And now it will take a long time before the plan starts. It is obviously not a good choice to rashly start the plan and expose the Shao organization to the bright side. So, Obito can only endure, waiting for a great opportunity. Originally, this Chunin exam was an excellent opportunity. Unfortunately, the Mist Shinobi ninjas that Obito inserted all fell in the Death Forest. This greatly exceeded Obito's expectations, resulting in a major error in Obito's plan. And Obito took control of one of Cloud Shinobi's 2 urgent ninjas, but was easily defeated by Sasuke. This also allows Obito to discover Sasuke as a hidden threat. It seems that we can only wait for this Chunin exam to find a suitable opportunity. In public, there is no suitable opportunity at all, and once exposed, it will only become a target of public criticism. While continuing to forbear, Obito did not leave. Because Obito hopes to know more about Naruto, and then find Naruto's weakness. In this way, you will have more confidence in dealing with Naruto in the future. Ninjas are all about intelligence warfare. Whoever has more information has a higher chance of winning. Feng Luosha frowned and looked at the youngest son Gaara, who was playing below. There is no warmth in the eyes, only stern gaze. It's your turn, Gaara. Get rid of Naruto, because the Kingdom of the Winds will eradicate the greatest threat. Gaara did not hear Luosha's soft voice. but it doesn't prevent Gaara from casting his hatred eyes on Naruto. Back then, at the border of the Land of Winds, Gaara witnessed how Naruto easily defeated Chio. But Gaara is not who he was then. Last year, Gaara could only hide and watch the show. But now, after the baptism of blood and fire, Gaara's killing intent has become stronger, and at the same time, she has more confidence in her own strength. Gaara believed that no one could escape his sand. Moonlight Galewind looked at the last two players who were in place, looked left and right to make sure they were all ready, then raised his hand and said, "The final match of the preliminaries officially begins. Jump." Gaara's hands drooped naturally, and the sand-gourd hat on the back was automatically pulled out. A large amount of sand immediately flew out from the mouth of the gourd, spreading the ground. "Take a big move from the very beginning," Dried Persimmon Kisame said with a grin. "The momentum is really huge," Deidara snorted coldly. "It's all trivial tricks, Master Naruto wants to deal with it, and it's completely effortless." Hidan rolled his eyes. "Can you stop? He is our enemy. You call the enemy Master?" Deidara looked at Hidan unkindly. "What's wrong? Master belongs to Master, as long as it is my enemy, even Master, I will not be shaken by Sifu." "Enough." Konan snorted and said, "Stop arguing, keep an eye on Uzumaki Naruto, find his weakness." Deidara and Hidan snorted coldly, turned their heads and looked at Lianchong. "I see." Facing the overwhelming sand, Naruto stood there without moving. Boom. A large amount of sand rushed down, making a loud noise. Yet Gaara's brow furrowed, he didn't feel his sand catch anything. Naruto escaped. However, the next moment, Naruto's figure reappeared at the position where he was standing just now. Not only that. The figure of Naruto is increasing rapidly, there are front and rear feet, they are all in the sky and on the ground. And this is different from the clone, it is completely afterimage caused by too fast speed. This. What speed is this? So fast that there are so many afterimages. I thought Konoha's watermelon head was fast enough. But this Uzumaki Naruto is even faster. Are Konoha's little ghosts all this scary? Are they sure they're not bullying people when they take the Chunin exam? Is it really worthy of being the head of the 5 great nations? Even the kid in the village has such terrifying power? This is just outrageous. Unbelievable King, open the door for outrageous, outrageous is home. Everyone watched this scene, and there was a lot of discussion. Gaara looked at the many afterimages, and immediately said through gritted teeth. "Small tricks. Do you think I can't catch you?" Gaara stretched out his palm into a claw shape, and the sand on the ground immediately turned into a huge palm under his control. With Gaara's waving, the giant sand palm grabbed afterimages one by one, distorting them and dissipating them. The corner of Gaara's mouth suddenly revealed a smug look. But the next moment, the dissipated afterimage unexpectedly recovered immediately. What this means, Gaara knows all too well. It means that Naruto reappeared at the location of the afterimage, and more than once. This discovery immediately made Gaara's face completely gloomy. "Come out. Hiding like a coward. Stand in front of me if you have the guts." Gaara yelled wildly. But the next second, Gaara felt a palpitation. Absolute defense was automatically triggered and gathered behind Gaara. Gaara looked back belatedly, and what she saw was the afterimage that was dissipating. Even absolute defense can't keep up with Naruto's speed. Not only that, it is far behind. Naruto even left an afterimage inside absolute defense. This incredible speed made Gaara's eyes widen. For the first time, Gaara felt an attitude of fear in his heart. But soon, this idea was shamefully abandoned by Gaara. "How can I be afraid? Only others fear me. I will never be afraid of others," Gaara screamed frantically in his heart. More and more sand was under his control, like a huge curtain, covering the entire black field. And the afterimage created by Naruto finally dissipated. "I got you." Gaara gave a cruel smile and clasped her hands tightly together. Sandstorm Burial. Under the terrifying pressure, the entire arena directly dropped by 1 meter. Even the venue for the preliminaries shook. Gaara is mad, that guy is dead. Kankuro lowered his head, hiding his fear, but he didn't realize that his voice was trembling slightly. Next to Kankuro, Tamari involuntarily held his arm, fear in his eyes. Although he is his own younger brother, Tamari has to admit that the current Gaara is a monster. However, when they heard Kankuro's words, the Xiaoqiangs on the side immediately looked at the two with strange eyes. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Fang looked at the two of them with idiot eyes. With such slow speed, how could it be possible to catch Naruto? "Aren't you underestimating Naruto?" Little Sakura said angrily. "Naruto-kun won't lose so easily. This level of attack, we can dodge casually." Snort. Temari snorted coldly and opened his mouth to say something. But after witnessing the unimaginable speed and body flicker technique of a few Xiaoqiangs, she suddenly found that what they said seemed to be correct. Gaara probably didn't catch Naruto. Thinking of this, Temari immediately turned to look at Hanfield. Watch out. Gaara. Temari let out a cry. However, it was too late. Gaara gasped. Even if he is a Jinchuriki, he will still feel a lot of energy consumption when using this kind of large-scale ninjutsu. After all, Gaara is just a 7-year-old kid now. Unlike Ya, Xiao Li and the others followed Naruto through devilish training, and they are far behind Konoha's peers in terms of physical fitness. But that's okay. Gaara is pretty sure that he just caught Naruto for sure. Now I'm afraid Naruto has turned into a ball of meatloaf under tremendous pressure. As for not being able to kill in the preliminaries, Gaara doesn't care. After all, Gaara's most important task this time is to eradicate Naruto, the biggest threat. Now, he has done this. What are you laughing at? Suddenly, a faint voice entered Gaara's ears. Gaara turned her head abruptly, seeing a fist that was indeed expanding rapidly. The next moment, the surrounding scenes turned into lines, colorful lines. But soon it became the picture again. At this time, severe pain hit Gaara's brain. I was beaten just now? Gaara was thinking in a trance, and a slightly dim sky appeared in front of him. It was getting late. After more than a dozen preliminaries, the sun is about to set. The sky has been dyed a faint yellow. It indicates that there is not much time left in this day. Gaara player, if you don't return to the arena, I will judge you to surrender automatically. Moonlight Gale came to Gaara's side. Only then did Gaara suddenly understand. He was actually kicked out of the preliminaries. The colorful lines that I saw at that moment were because the flying speed was too fast, which caused the things in my sight to be pulled into a line shape. No wonder, even my absolute defense couldn't respond. Gaara sighed, then stood up. The pain is still intense, but within a tolerable range. Seeing Gaara stand up, Guang Gaifeng stopped talking. Gaara walked back to the arena step by step. With every step, bits of debris fall off your face. It can be clearly seen that there are cracks on Gaara's face. Seeing this scene, little Sakura Ino and the others exclaimed and covered their mouths. His face, Kankuro and Temari were relieved. They were really taken aback when they saw Gaara was blown away and Gaara's automatic defense didn't even respond. Seeing Gaara back now, the worries in my heart were immediately put down. Then the talkative Kankuro explained Gaara's situation to the little Sakura who didn't understand. That's the sand armor, covering the whole body with sand to improve defense. While Naruto is fast, it's pointless if you can't break through Gaara's defenses. When little Sakura and the others heard this, they immediately became worried. Sasuke pouted and said, "Small tricks. In front of my black inflammation, nothing works." Kankuro choked when he heard Sasuke's comment. But could not refute. It was really Sasuke's black flame that shocked them too much. That black flame is really weird. Gaara returned to the arena, and the shattered sand armor condensed again, making him no longer look like a broken doll. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Is it very strong? It seems that only using 10% of the strength is a bit conservative. Veins suddenly popped out on Gaara's forehead. 10% power? Who are you looking down on? I'll let you taste my true strength. Trickle, masses of sand burst from Gaara's arms, stretched, and finally condensed into giant palms. This is similar to Choji's doubling technique. Tooth said curiously. It doesn't look right, though. Shikamaru rolled his eyes. Of course not, that looks like a beast's claw. The sudden change of Gaara, Xiaoqiang who has not seen the tail beast is naturally not clear. However, everyone on the second floor could see the specific situation at the first glance. Although third generation believed in Naruto, his heart skipped a beat, and he couldn't help turning his head to look at Keisuke Rasa. Lord Fengying, the Jinchuriki in your village seem to be out of control. Do you want to stop this competition? However, the current situation is going on just as Luo Sha expected. How could he prevent the game from continuing? Don't worry, Your Excellency Hokage. My son can still control this level of tail beast power. Please trust my son. At this time, Onoki, who was smiling, also chimed in. Anyway, with us old guys around, so what if Jinchuriki really went berserk? Isn't the intention of keeping the preliminaries away from the village to avoid affecting civilians? Relax, Your Excellency. But in fact, Onoki wished that Gaara would get out of control and make a fuss in Konoha. If Naruto can really be solved, it is naturally the best. But Onoki knew that this was not realistic. I, who was also thinking of something wrong, also stretched his brows. That's right, Your Excellency Tsuchikage is right. Now that the two contestants have no objections, let's let the competition continue. Hit me. Hit me hard. Kill Uzumaki Naruto. I shouted excitedly in his heart. Can't wait to go out and deal with Naruto. This is Kazecage's plan, right? I didn't expect fourth Kazekage to be so bold. Orochimaru licked his lips, not worried at all. But can One Tail be able to deal with Naruto? Don't forget, Naruto is Nine Tails Jinchuriki. However, it is also a good thing how to explore the true power of Naruto. Orochimaru became more focused, looking forward to the next battle more and more. Also looking forward to it are the members of the Akatsuki organization in the corner. Is that the power of the tail beast? It doesn't feel good. Hoshigaki Kisame, known as the tailless beast, is dismissive of Gaara's display of power. I don't think it's changed much except that the amount of chakra has become a little bit more. It's better to say that it has become more dull. Ju looked at Gaara and said with burning eyes. If it wasn't for the fact that there were too many masters at the scene, this would be the best time for us to capture the two-tailed beasts. Pity. Conan said calmly. Don't be delusional. If we make a move now, we will face the full strength of the 5 major powers. Don't forget, all 5 rivers are there, Pain said calmly. Stop talking. Watch this battle carefully. Sanagakure's Jinchuriki will be an excellent detector that will allow us to see more of Naruto's force zone. Pain spoke, and several people stopped talking immediately. Instead, focus on the battle. In Mist Shinobi, Luo Tien frowned as he watched the situation change. One Tail. Too bad it's not a good time. Obito has some regrets, but not much. It is not very difficult to capture One Tail, and there will be opportunities in the future. The big problem now is how to catch Nine Tails. Seeing that Naruto's strength is getting stronger and stronger, getting deeper and deeper. The fear in Obito's heart grew deeper and deeper. Moreover, Obito doubts whether Gaara can bring out Naruto's true strength. Because, what Gaara is displaying now seems terrifying, but in front of these real powerhouses, it is full of flaws. Player's bench. Holding himself in his hands, Ben was still trembling. There was fear in his eyes. Monster, monster out. She murmured in a low voice, and could clearly feel her fear. Beside him, Konkuro didn't even dare to look, there was only fear on his deeply drooping face. Deep fear. After completing the transformation, Gaara's mental state was obviously polluted by One Tail Shukaku. The smile on his face was crazy, and the corners of his mouth even flowed out. Die to me. Gaara's voice became sharper. He waved his 2 huge claws, and the air suddenly condensed into countless thousands of sand, densely packed. In the next moment, like a hail of bullets, they came flying. But how could this speed hurt Naruto? Not even Naruto left his spot. He easily avoided countless thousands of copies with his unimaginable movement skills. When it was over, he said lightly, finished. Then it's my turn now. Fire-style great fireball technique. Naruto's hands brought out afterimages, and he completed the seal movement almost in the blink of an eye. Then, Naruto took a deep breath and exhaled it forward. A fireball took shape rapidly, and in a very short period of time, it became a great fireball with a diameter of less than 100 fields. No, even a wall of flames. The wall of flames covering the sky pressed towards Gaara with great pressure, accompanied by scorching heat. Seeing that this represents the ninjutsu of the Uchiha clan, the people of Uchiha burst into cheers. As expected of Naruto. Well done. This great fireball is the biggest I've ever seen, bigger than the patriarchs. It's just too handsome to ride a horse. That's it, just burn them to ashes. How about being roasted to ashes? This is the Chunin exam, and Naruto will continue to take the exam. A crowd of clansmen cheered loudly behind him, and Fugaku folded his arms in front of him, nodded slightly with a slight smile on his face. As expected of Naruto, the power of the great fireball is very authentic at first glance. As for someone saying that Naruto's great fireball is bigger than his, Fugaku didn't care, it was the truth after all. Half of his face turned into a monster. Gaara raised his head, staring blankly at the oncoming flames, as if he forgot to defend. It was the automatic defense of the sand that woke Gaara up. A large amount of sand condenses and wraps Gaara layer by layer. Boom. There was a loud noise, accompanied by a large amount of black smoke spreading. The violent blast even made everyone unable to open their eyes for a while. The power is very terrifying. Hey, this power won't kill Sanagakure's Jinchuriki, right? Kisame said in shock. With such momentum, most people probably won't be able to keep Leonwi behind. Uzumaki Naruto's strength is too scary, right? Itachi said lightly. Not yet, the Jinchuriki of One Tail is still alive. Pen also nodded. Just keep reading. Remembering all the quality that Naruto showed, this is the opponent we need to play against in the future. Kakuzu said with a frown. Although there is no specific reward in the underground world, judging from my years of experience, as long as it appears, it will definitely not be less than 50 million taels. The smoke and dust dissipated slowly, and the ground where Gaara was located actually crystallized. It was directly baked into crystals by the high temperature of the great fireball. Seeing this scene, Ya couldn't help but be speechless. Naruto's great fireball is getting more and more scary. My great fireball is at most 5 meters in diameter, and the temperature can't reach this level. With this power, Naruto's opponent won't die, right? Neji frowned. No, and it doesn't appear to be injured. Defensively, that guy named Gaara was really strong. Especially after he showed that monster posture. Shikamaru put his head in his hands, staring at dead fish eyes and said. That's called tailed beast transformation, releasing the sealed tailed beast in the body to obtain the powerful power zone of the tailed beast. Tail beast. Neji frowned. So it's not an illusion that I saw 2 different chakra in Gaara's body, so the ominous chakra is the chakra of the tailed beast. Shikamaru nodded, confirming Neji's guess, but Neji frowned again. Then why doesn't Naruto use the power of the tailed beast? Isn't there a tailed beast inside him too? Sasuke pouted and said. To deal with this kind of garbage, do you still need to use the power of the tailed beast? Everyone looked at Sasuke speechlessly. Even if it is the truth, you can't say it in front of other teammates. Fortunately, Kankuro and Temari's attention is not on them. At this moment, they were opening their mouths wide, looking at the arena in shock. When Gaara begins to unleash the power of the tailed beast, the two were left in terror. But seeing Gaara, who was terrified of them, being beaten violently by Naruto, they were immediately dumbfounded. The fearful image of Gaara that had always been there began to crumble and become crumbling. And at this time, the crystallized sphere wrapped around Vice Admiral Gaara cracked open, revealing Gaara, still a monster inside. It's just that the madness in Gaara's eyes is getting stronger and stronger at this time, as if losing his mind at any time. Naruto frowned slightly. Although the venue for the preliminaries was far away from Konoha village, Naruto still didn't want Gaara to make a big fuss this time, causing the innocent civilians to be affected. Want a quick fight? Naruto felt a little pity. After all, Naruto still wanted to have a fight with One-Tail Shukaku. With the power he has now, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with One-Tail Shuhei. However, if you accidentally miss a tailed beast bomb or something inside Konoha village, it will be a disaster. Even if Naruto is confident in himself, he needs to avoid this kind of thing from happening. An angry, beastly roar brought Naruto back to his senses. He looked up and saw the crazy Gaara rushing towards him out of nowhere. It seems that I have completely lost my mind. The sharp giant claws slashed across where Naruto was, but only hit the air. Naruto himself has disappeared one step ahead. Rasengan. Leaping into the air, a Rasengan with a diameter of several meters has condensed in Naruto's hands. In order to avoid killing Gaara directly, Naruto still did not use his full strength. After all, Naruto wasn't going to be out here for a foul. Gaara only had time to look up when Rasengan slammed him hard on the face. Bang. The whole person was driven by Rasengan to rotate rapidly, and kept pressing down towards the ground. The ground of the arena quickly collapsed and sank under the tremendous force. Boom. Bang bang. Every sound means that the ground has sunk for a while. Finally, accompanied by a huge roar, the entire ground collapsed completely, and Gaara was also deeply pressed to the ground, life and death unknown. The arena has already sunk to a depth of about 5 meters. Naruto exhaled lightly. It is also a technical job to ensure that the opponent is stunned without killing the opponent. The control of power needs to be very delicate. Naruto also needs to be careful about this, because if you are not careful, you may use too much force, causing Gaara to be killed directly. The audience was silent. He had just shown the power of Tailed Beast, but before Gaara could continue to show off, Naruto quickly and neatly dealt with him. This result is obviously unacceptable to many people. Especially those who were born in Shaonin village looked at Naruto with a stupefied look. It's like looking at one god, it is too powerful. I thought Uchiha's brat was strong enough, then there's an even tougher one. Is this the foundation of the 5 great nations? Children at such a young age have such great power. When they grow up, I'm afraid they will all become strong men who shocked the entire ninja world. Whoa, why am I not from Konoha? I also want to be so sleepy. Don't dream. Even if you join Konoha, you can't become so strong without qualifications. The friend in front is right. This thing depends on aptitude. Even Konoha from the 5 great nations, There are not many who can have such a heaven-defying aptitude. Wait, look, it doesn't seem right. What? Isn't it over yet? Moonlight Gale came to Gaara's side in the pit to confirm his life and death. But just approaching, Moonlight Gale's complexion changed, and he retreated quickly. As soon as the Moonlight Gale exited, Gaara on the ground moved, and then slowly got up. Gaara got up and bowed his head deeply, with huge claws hanging on the ground, looking as if he was delirious. Suddenly, Gaara raised his head, and there were no pupils in his eyes, only whites. Ruined. Temari's legs trembled in fear, and finally sat down on the ground weakly. At this moment, fear crawled all over her face. Next to her, Konkoro was equally miserable. What to do? Everyone here will die. Konkoro took a few steps back, then fell to the ground. There was also fear on his face. At this moment, Neji, with the whites of his eyes open, frowned slightly and said, "The tailed beast chakra in Gaara's body is rising rapidly, as if something is about to come out." It's a tailed beast. Everyone's complexion changed, but it was nervous and curious. For those who have never seen a tailed beast, they naturally have a curiosity about the tailed beast in their hearts. Even Sasuke looked interested. Is it finally coming out? I don't know how strong it is. Sasuke's eyes were eager to try, but he endured it. After all, it is Naruto's battle now, and Sasuke will not do things to snatch people's prey. Of course, he will not allow others to snatch his prey. And Sasuke's highest prey in this Chunin exam is naturally his approved fateful opponent, Naruto. Standing on the edge of the pothole, Naruto watched condescendingly. As the closest person present, it would be easy for Naruto to stop him. But Naruto isn't about to stop. Naruto admitted that he missed the previous Rasengan. Naruto didn't expect Gaara to be so resistant to beating, or Gaara's obsession made Gaara want to win even if he lost consciousness. Even if you pay any price for it. Now, one-tail Shukaku is about to appear, and Naruto still hopes to fight with the tailed beast. Even the weakest tail beast. Soon. The red tail beast chakra covered Gaara's body, and then expanded rapidly. The white sand quickly filled into the tailed beast chakra, and a huge monster was growing extremely. Oops. The faces of those who were familiar with the shape of the tailed beast all changed. Although the preliminaries are not small, it is obviously impossible to accommodate a tailed beast. As one-tail Shuhei quickly emerged from Gaara's body, the small preliminaries could no longer hold up. Everyone who realized the danger left in an instant. Soon, Shuhei grew to the point where he smashed through the roof of the preliminaries venue. Now, everyone said that the preliminaries are going to be overwhelmed. Run. Shikamaru shouted and rushed out of the arena first. Seeing that the situation was not good, Ya and the others all flashed out of the venue one by one. After they left, Konkoro and Temari were left alone on the bench. As for the people in Yinren village, they have also evacuated. The venue began to collapse, and the gravel fell, and it seemed that it was about to hit the two of them. At the critical moment, their leader teacher Baki took the shot and took them away. Rumbling after a series of roars, the venue specially prepared for the preliminaries immediately fell apart, and soon became a ruin. Figures appeared in the clearing and on the branches. Looking at one-tail Shuhei as if sleeping. Obito's eyes were especially burning. One-tail watching the crane. Unfortunately, now is not the right time. Reducing the burning in his eyes, Obito hesitated to use the Sharingan to control Shukaku. It's like taking control of Nine Tails 7 years ago and creating chaos in Konoha again. Once you control Shukaku, you can also use this to blame Uchiha Fugaku who is on the scene. But Obito quickly dismissed the idea. In the same way, fixation doesn't work easily. And now the relationship between Uchiha and Konoha village is not harmonious, but they also know that there is an enemy outside Obito. Although they don't know Obito's true identity yet. But Obito knew that even though he had fought against Naruto that night, even if he still hid his true identity, he was already a worthy enemy to Konoha. Fortunately, the truth of the Nine Tails incident has not yet been found out. But if Obito intervenes at this time and does the same thing again, it will naturally arouse suspicion. Although no one knows that he is here, the effect is definitely not as good as 7 years ago. And there are too many Uchiha clans present. If it is discovered that he uses the pupil power, maybe his identity will be exposed. Since the risk outweighs the reward, Obito gave up this opportunity. It's a pity, there are too many people now, said in a hoarse voice. There was no fluctuation in Pain's eyes. After all, he has been forbearing for so long, and he doesn't mind forbear for a while longer. Now is not the time. When the time is right, you have plenty of time to go hunting. Hoshigaki Kisame asked nicely. Why does this guy seem to be sleeping? Or is there something wrong? Deidara said casually. Maybe he fell asleep. After all, being sealed in someone else's body can't do anything, so it's better to sleep. This one tail definitely hasn't woken up yet. Hidan looked left and right. By the way, where is Naruto? Have you seen it? When the others heard it, they immediately looked around and found that there was indeed no sign of Naruto. Only Conan looked up suspiciously, only to be shocked to find that Naruto was flying in the air, with a sword under his feet. He's in the air. Hearing Conan's exclamation, everyone looked up immediately. Then everyone was dumbfounded. Naruto can fly, except for Konoha, only Onogi and others, as well as Raikage and Killer Bee, they know. After all, they have seen it with their own eyes. How can Master Naruto fly? Deidara shouted in shock. Could Master Naruto know how to light and heavy rock technique? Deidara instantly thought of the old man Onogi's ninjutsu. But he soon noticed the sword under Naruto's feet. Wait. What's that? A sword? How did Master Naruto step on a sword? Hidan said with narrowed eyes. Perhaps he was able to fly in the air with the help of that sword. It's like your big clay bird is taking you flying. Pain frowned slightly, but he didn't care. It's just as far as flying, it's the same as who can't. 5 shadows landed on the open space not far away. Third generation frowned slightly, looked at one-tail Shuhei, who was motionless, and then looked at Fengying Luosha. Your Excellency Fengying, in this situation, can it still be said that your beloved son is controlling it? This F***king is clearly going berserk, Luo Sha said without changing his face. Of course, although my son is not as perfect as Cloud Shinobi's Jinchuriki Killer Bee, he is still unique in controlling the tailed beast. Trust me, Gaara won't do any damage to Konoha, he just wants to beat his opponent. Third generation frowned, noncommittal. But I was already cursing angrily in my heart. You are shameless. You opened your eyes and said nonsense. This is called control. How the hell can this be called control? Stop F***king kidding. But as the host, and at the same time the person with the most noble status in Konoha, even if he has greeted Luo Sha's 18th generation ancestors in his heart, he still has to show a calm look on the surface. In that case, let the game continue. However, if your Excellency's Aiko still remains silent, we don't have so much time to wait for him. After all, the sun is about to set, it's time for the players to go to rest. Luo Shapi said with a nonchalant smile. Of course, please be patient. Gaara will definitely make a move before the sun goes down. Onoki, who doesn't think it's a big deal to watch the excitement, interjected. Don't worry, Lord Hokage, if Sanagakure's Jinchuriki really goes berserk, I can help subdue him. As he spoke, he showed a sly and cruel smile. As for how to subdue the runaway tail beast, at least one thing is certain, that is, Onoki will definitely not show mercy. At that time, I am afraid that Chen Dun will take it away directly. Raikage looked at one-tail Shuhei with burning eyes. How long does he want to sleep? Since you want to grow up, start now. Luo Sha gave Onoki a hard look, and then said slowly. Please be patient, Lord Raikage. Cut. I pouted, muttering in his heart. Do it now. Wasted so much time. Hurry up and get rid of Naruto. Even if you can't solve it, let Naruto's cards out. At this time, Luo Sha said unhurriedly. By the way, where is Naruto now? Why didn't you see him? Is he buried in the ruins? Onoki rolled his eyes. He didn't think that with Naruto's speed, he could be buried in the ruins. After all, they can all escape. Raikage looked left and right, but he did not find Naruto. Third generation said with a smile. Isn't Naruto over there? What? Didn't you find out? Onogi and I immediately realized something, looked up quickly, and saw Naruto standing on the sword and fixed in the air. Confused, Luo Sha followed their gaze and looked up, only to see Naruto. Immediately, even if Luosha is the shadow of a village, he is living in Bungbu at this moment. He can fly. Fang appeared on the branch of the tree, looked at the huge Shuhei, and could not help but whistle. Is this the tailed beast? It's really big enough. Neji's eyes still didn't go away. Not only is it bulky, but even the amount of chakra is super flat. Shikamaru had regained his composure by this time. The tail beast is called infinite chakra, and the amount of chakra is naturally not small. By the way, what is Naruto doing now? Is he just standing there? Shikamaru and the others knew that Naruto could fly, so they found Naruto immediately. But seeing that Naruto didn't move, he couldn't help being a little curious. Maybe it's waiting for the tailed beast to wake up. Choji said. That tailed beast looks like it's sleeping. Sasuke frowned and looked at the tailed beast. After observing it carefully, he immediately showed a disgusted expression. The body shape alone may be enough for the reason, but the sensitivity is too low. Not challenging at all. This time, Sasuke has no interest in tailed beasts at all. As Sasuke himself said, no matter how powerful he is, it doesn't make sense if he can't hit someone. Wait? There seems to be movement. Neji frowned. As soon as his words fell, Shohei, who had been silent all this time, moved slightly. Then, Shuhei slowly raised his head and opened his eyes. It seems to be unbelievable to see the long-lost sky. It blinked its small eyes, and then let out a deafening cry. Laozi is finally free. Luo Sha. Fen Fu. Where are you? Laozi wants to kill you all. The roar of the giant beast brought bursts of sound waves, and everyone had to cover their ears hard to avoid the eardrums being broken by the sound waves. Naruto frowned slightly, then controlled a sword from the sword box behind him and stabbed over. The flying sword was directly inserted between Shohei's eyes, which immediately attracted Shohei's attention. Shuhei raised his hand to touch the place where the flying sword was pierced, and then he noticed Naruto not far away. Where did the little one come from? It can fly. But even if he can fly, he's no match for my uncle. How dare you disturb my uncle? I will tear you up first, and then go to that bastard Luo Sha. Shuhei swung its paws. The speed didn't match its bloated body at all, it was so fast. But no matter how fast it is, it cannot be faster than Naruto with the speed of sound. And below. Third generation silently looked at K's cage Luo Sha. Is this what you mean by control? The tailed beasts are all shouting for freedom. However, Luo Sha's face has been tested for a long time, and the third generation sight attack is not a problem for Luo Sha at all. The attack was dodged, and Shukaku also noticed Naruto's speed. But Shuhei is still very confident. A little bit of speed, but can you follow this one? As he spoke, Shuhei suddenly opened his mouth, and the wind of Yinhuang gathered quickly. Wind-style practice blank bullets. Naruto frowned slightly. Shohei's move is very insidious, because behind Naruto is the area of Konoha village. Once Naruto gets out of the way, the unsuspecting Konoha village will inevitably die. However, Naruto naturally won't let such a thing happen. He opened his palms, and chakra quickly gathered and spun, forming a fist-sized Rasengan 8. Immediately, Naruto flew towards one-tail Shukaku's training blank. Be careful. Naruto-kun. Little Sakura yelled worriedly. Even little Sakura knows Naruto's strength is very strong. But the momentum of the tailed beast is indeed extraordinary. Moreover, the huge size gap between the two will always make people fall into a preconceived feeling. That is, the huge tail beast will be very powerful. Not only little Sakura, many people saw Naruto rushing towards Shukaku's attack, and they all showed worried expressions. Especially Kakashi and others who know the strength of tailed beasts. The third generation glared at Fungying Luosha even more. Is that what you said, don't worry? If Naruto didn't block it, the blank bullet would have landed in the center of Konoha. I can't wait. Luo Sha secretly said in his heart, but on the surface he still showed a look of shame. It's really embarrassing, but it's just that Gaara is too excited to meet a strong enough opponent. If losses are really caused, we, Sanagakure, will compensate even if it is a slap in the face. When third generation heard this, he blew his beard and stared angrily. Are you worthy? With your poor Sanagakure? Onoki, who doesn't think it's a big deal to watch the excitement, interjected quietly. If there is a real loss, Iron Hidden Village can also provide some compensation instead of Sanagakure. Reikage I followed closely behind. So can our Cloud Shinobi village. Only Mizukage Yagura has no indication. Mainly the Citrus Yagura is controlling Obito and now all the attention is on Naruto. Tianshin is not interested in what this group of old guys say. Hearing the shameless words of these old Busho, third generation was so angry that his nose was crooked. Isn't this an obvious way to nerf Konoha village? The third generation suddenly looked up and looked at Naruto Gu. It's all up to you. Naruto. Absolutely don't let that training blank bomb fall into the village. As for whether Naruto will be injured, Hayo is not worried at all. The main reason is that Naruto has always shown a very strong strength, which makes third generation have inexplicable confidence in Naruto. It seems that Shuawei has spent a long time practicing empty ammunition. In fact, only a few seconds. When third generation looked up at Naruto, Shuzuru had already spit out the blank ammunition. The strongly compressed wind pressure ball rushed out at an extremely fast speed. It bumped straight into Naruto, who was blocking the way. There was a loud bang. The empty bullets exploded in the air, and the violent blast suddenly raged wildly. The powerful wind pressure directly bent the waists of those big trees. The ninjas standing on the branches retreated one after another, so as not to be implicated by the broken trees. However, in this terrifying wind pressure, Everyone present heard a shrill scream. That is, the scream of one-tail Shuhei. Luo Sha's eyes widened in disbelief, and he blocked the strong wind with his hands and looked at Shuhei. After seeing it, Luo Sha's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. How can it be? Shocked words blurted out and immediately attracted the attention of others. They looked at Shuhei one after another, and they also showed shocked expressions. I saw that a huge Rasengan with a diameter of more than 20 meters slammed into Shuhei's face fiercely. This is also the reason why Shuhei screamed. And behind this huge Rasengan, Naruto, who is only 7 years old, looks like a small black dot. It looks inconspicuous, but it has a strong sense of existence. I knew you could, Naruto. Third generation's face is full of relief, and the more he looks at it, the more delighted he is. However, the other shadows around third generation were all sad. Uzumaki Naruto was able to overwhelm the tailed beast with his own strength without losing the wind. Onoki frowned tightly, creating a deep canyon on his forehead. In time, I'm afraid no one in the ninja world will be his opponent. You have to plan ahead. Onoki made up his mind. But how to do it, because Zuimu has no idea. After all, Onoki has seen with his own eyes how fast Naruto is. Faster than the speed of sound. Even if he practiced hard day and night, he was far from half of what Naruto was. Naruto's talent is really shocking. Luo Sha couldn't believe that Shohei, whom he had placed high hopes on, was crushed and beaten. At this moment, he completely lost the demeanor of a shadow, and his face was full of panic. Seeing this scene, the members of the Shao organization also felt their scalps go numb. Although I am sure to deal with Shuzuru, it will definitely not be as easy as Uzumaki Naruto. Scorpion frowned, looking at Naruto with fear. Hidan shouted in shock. What's up with that insanely big Rasengan? I can't bear that thing even if I bear it hard. Deidara was also shocked, but after hearing what Hidan said, Deidara's attention was immediately diverted. Didn't you say that you worship evil gods, so you won't die at all? Hidan suddenly squeaked. That also depends on what kind of attack it is. If this thing falls on you, even Boss Pain can't bear it. Although Pain was also shocked, as the leader of the Shao organization, he still forced himself to restrain Faye's emotions. Fortunately, it is the hidden Nagato who really controls Pain, so it is no problem to maintain Pain's calm and mysterious temperament. That thing can't hit me. With the god Luo Tien sign, as long as I don't want to, no attack will fall on me. Pain thought confidently, or let himself stabilize his mind. It is really that the pressure of this huge Rasengan is too strong. Said in a hoarse voice. In short, the current Naruto is already a serious problem for us. So for our plan, we still have to get rid of him as soon as possible. Dried Persimmon Ghost rolled his eyes and said. You sound nice, is there anything you can do? Shut up immediately. Black Zetsu is not helpless, but now is not the time for Black Zetsu to appear. And Black Zetsu's method may not necessarily be applicable. Although Naruto's threat is great, Black Zetsu doesn't need to rush this moment. Even if he failed this time, Black Zetsu could still endure until Naruto died naturally. After all, it has been endured for thousands of years. Black Zetsu can continue to endure it. Unscrupulous people are worried about the strength displayed by Naruto. But Sakura and the others cheered when they saw Naruto suppressing Shuzuru. That guy Naruto is really amazing, Tooth said sincerely. Such a big monster can be suppressed, and that Rasengan is too big, it is several times bigger than mine. Shikamaru said with a smile. That's Naruto after all, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did something shocking. I'm used to it. When Shikamaru said this, everyone immediately felt that it was right. It's really Naruto who usually scares them too much. Of course, the fright is theirs and the joy is Naruto's. It's worthy of being my opponent. If you can't even suppress this kind of guy, you don't deserve to be my opponent. Sasuke said calmly, as if he didn't care about the crane at all. Immediately my teeth became dissatisfied. Everyone knows what to say, why don't you go if you want to do it? Sasuke immediately looked at Fang with idiot eyes. Because this is the preliminaries, this battle is for both of them, idiot. Teeth blushed instantly. Just now, the oppressive feeling of the tailed beast made Ya suddenly forget that he was still in the preliminaries. It's not a bridge where tailed beasts invade Konoha. Unable to bear Sasuke's too obvious gaze, Ya turned his head to look for other targets that could divert the topic. Looking at it like this, I immediately found two people. Kankuro and Temari stood dumbfounded, watching Shuzuru being beaten by Naruto with two huge Rasengan chains. Yep. Naruto made another giant Rasengan. Now one with each hand, alternately hitting Shohei's face back and forth. Every time it hits, Shuhei will make a deafening scream. How miserable is that voice? Faced with this unexpected result, the two who had been deeply terrified by Shukaku's destructive power couldn't accept it at all. Why? Why did you Naruto crush our tailed beast without even using the tailed beast's power? Why? The hearts of the two were screaming crazily, and their rationality was about to collapse. At this time, Shuhei, who had been beaten countless times, finally found an opportunity, and his entire huge body turned into a piece of quicksand and instantly turned into a large beach of sand and slipped away quickly. Then regrouped in another place. Naruto didn't catch up either, but disarmed the two huge Rasengan and let them dissipate slowly. Just now, Naruto was in a very good mood after using Shukaku as a sandbag and ran away. It's no wonder so many people like to practice boxing to decompress. It feels really good. It's a pity that for Naruto, the only one that can be used as a sandbag by him is the very resistant tailed beast. The others might not even be able to take one move from Naruto. Who? Shuhei panted heavily, not at all as if he had just been released. At this moment Shukaku stared at Naruto's figure, his eyes full of fear. Fear lingers in Shohei's heart, but more anger. I am a majestic tailed beast. How can I be crushed and beaten? No. I want to get this place back. The more he thought about it, the more angry he became, and the fear quickly disappeared without a trace, leaving only the full of anger. Go to hell. Shukaku opened his mouth and quickly condensed chakra. Immediately, in front of Shohei's mouth, Black's tailed beast bomb quickly condensed. This is Shohei's most powerful attack. It is also the strongest attack method of tailed beast. With just one tailed beast bomb, you can easily destroy a forest. The power is more powerful than the previous training empty ammunition. Tailed beast bomb? Naruto raised his eyebrows, not paying any attention to the threat of the tailed beast bomb. Open your palm, and the blue and deep Rasengan immediately appears in the center of your palm. Naruto looked up and looked at the tailed beast bomb with great pressure, with a calm smile on his face. This smile fell into Shohei's eyes, which not only shocked Shuhei, but also made him feel very dazzling. Die to me! Shuhei shouted angrily, and at the same time spit out the tailed beast bomb. Naruto didn't dodge or dodge, he raised the Rasengan in his hand and charged directly. This time, the Rasengan in Naruto's hand did not expand to an exaggerated level. It didn't even get huge. Still only the size of the palm of your hand. However, the volume has not increased, but other aspects have changed. For example, Rasengan's RPM. At this moment, the Rasengan in Naruto's hand was spinning at an extremely exaggerated speed. It even made the space around Rasengan a bit distorted. Holding Rasengan in front of him, Naruto charged at the tailed beast bomb. In the blink of an eye, the two collided, however. The imagined scene of Mars hitting the earth did not appear. The Rasengan in Naruto's hand seemed to be the sharpest knife. Without the slightest stagnation, it directly penetrated the tailed beast bomb. At the same time, completely detonate the tailed beast bomb in the air. Boom, accompanied by a huge roar, the tailed beast bomb exploded. But because the center was pierced, the power of the tailed beast bomb plummeted, and even the blast wind generated couldn't even match the wind pressure of empty bombs. But the eyes of everyone who saw this scene couldn't help but widen. Especially ninjas who are old enough to understand what a tailed beast bomb is. What did I see? Luo Sha's face was dull, his mouth opened unconsciously, and he couldn't accept the picture he saw with his eyes at all. He looked at the blonde Xiaohui who penetrated through the tailed beast bomb and was still heading straight toward Shozong. At this moment, fear was finally born in Luo Sha's heart. The fear of Naruto's strength is deeply rooted in Luo Sha's heart at this moment. I'm afraid Nirosha won't have the slightest intention to attack Naruto in a short time. Is really scary. Pierces even tailed beast bombs. What else can't he do? I gritted his teeth and made an extremely suppressed sound. At this moment, I's heart was boiling with excitement. Facing the strength displayed by Naruto, I, who is a fighting madman, almost couldn't help but rushed forward. Fortunately, I still remembered the current occasion, so he controlled it. And Onoki, at this moment, completely lost the mood to joke or watch fun. The stronger Naruto showed, the more worried Onogi became. The future gap between the two ninja villages is getting bigger and bigger. Heavens different. The outcome has been revealed. Pain said lightly, then turned and left, no longer interested in the next battle. Dried Persimmon and Ghost Shark asked because they didn't know why. Is this going? Conan followed closely behind, following Pen away. Pain said without looking back. You can keep watching, maybe Naruto will reveal some whole cards. But I don't think there's much hope. One-Tail Shukaku has already used the strongest moves, and it is unlikely to draw out Naruto's hidden strength. When the other people heard it, they felt that it made sense. But dried persimmon Kisame still said, "Then I'll stay here. Even if there is little hope, it would be a pity if Uzumaki Naruto really showed more hole cards and no one noticed." Pain nodded lightly and said, "Then leave it to you." Then, the rest of Akatsuki's organization left one after another. Only Kisame and Itachi were left behind. "I didn't expect you to be with me," dried persimmon Ghost Shark said with a smile. Itachi said calmly, "We are partners and should act together." In reality, Itachi just wanted to see Sasuke more. Not far away, Sasuke frowned and looked in Itachi's direction. But Itachi was very alert, and before Sasuke looked over, he had already shifted his gaze. "Who's watching me?" Because the distance was too far, Sasuke only felt the sight, but couldn't accurately perceive who it was. Forget it, it's irrelevant anyway. Sasuke didn't pay much attention to it, but set his eyes on Naruto. Is it finally over? What a waste of time. In Sasuke's view, Naruto doesn't need to spend so much effort to solve one-tail Shuhei. It can be solved at a faster speed. Although the tailed beast looks like Genin, for the two of them, it is not a challenge at all. Naruto was having a good time beating. The Rasengan in his hand hit Shuhei, and there was a tragic howl. Moreover, the tailed beast feels very good when fighting. For Naruto, it is a waste to play such a handy sandbag if it is not more than a dozen. But he just smashed it hundreds of times, and he hasn't had enough fun yet. As a result, Shuhei quit first. Lousy can't beat you, can't he hide? Lousy is no longer playing. Shuzuru retracted into Gaara's body at an extremely fast speed, and sealed the seal tightly, never wanting to come out again. At least when Naruto is around, it won't come out even if you kill it. Naruto curled his lips and fell helplessly. At this time Gaara has fallen into a coma and has no intention of waking up. Whoosh. Moonlight Gale, who didn't know where to hide before, appeared. He looked at Gaara, who was unconscious, before declaring the winner of the match. The game is over, and the winner is Uzumaki Naruto from Konoha village. Naruto smiled, and then turned around to join his friends. This is just a preliminaries, winning is not something to celebrate. The next battle is the most important part of this Chunin exam. The game was decided, and Kankuro and Temari rushed over. Although they are afraid of Gaara, and the crane in Gaara. But Gaara is their younger brother after all, so naturally he will not watch his younger brother fainted on the ground and remain indifferent. But there is one person who is faster than them. As soon as they ran over, Luo Shaw's figure suddenly appeared beside Gaara. Seeing their father, Temari and Kankuro showed no joy and froze in place. Snort. Luo Shaw let out a cold snort, which immediately silenced the two of them, not daring to make a sound. They knew that Luo Shaw must be very dissatisfied at this time. The most important part of the plan went wrong. Their plan for this trip was a complete failure. And also exposed Jinchuriki's information. When the time comes to return to the village, you must be careful of the assassins in other people's villages. The two lowered their heads, and could clearly feel Luo Shaw's unfriendly gaze. This made both of their bodies tremble involuntarily. At this time, Third Generation walked over with a smile on his face. "Your Excellency Funkage, the players from your village are seriously injured. Why don't you arrange to go to Konoha Hospital for treatment?" Luo Shaw immediately restrained his momentum, and then said expressionlessly. "That will not bother your Excellency Hokage. Although our Sanagakure is poor in supplies, we still have medical ninjas." "Damn old fox. If my son falls into your hands, what will happen? I'm afraid that even the tail beast in the body will be taken away by you." Luo Shaw cursed secretly in his heart, but kept his expression on his face. Third Generation said with a smile, "Your Excellency Fungying is really too far-fetched. How can we say that we are also allies, and I, Konoha, as the host, naturally have to bear the corresponding responsibilities?" Luo Shaw said immediately, "It's really unnecessary, Your Excellency Hokage." Seeing Luo Shaw's persistence, Third Generation could only say with regret, "That's really a pity." As he said that, Third Generation shook his head, as if he hadn't been able to fulfill the friendship of the landlord and made Third Generation very regretful. But Luo Shaw and Third Generation are very clear about what the Third Generation is really regretting. "Okay, the game is over." Third Generation quickly changed the topic, no longer entangled in the location of Gaara's treatment. Afterwards, Third Generation raised his voice slightly and said loudly, "After a whole day of competition, all the contestants showed their talents and fully demonstrated their team. At the same time, adhering to the principle of friendship first and competition second, the friendly exchanges shown by you all made it possible for the entire preliminaries to come to a successful conclusion without any accidents. Here, I would like to thank all the contestants for their wonderful performance." Third generation stood in the open space, talked nonsense for half an hour, and finally announced its dissolution. This is the sun has almost completely sunk, but if this is not the case, third generation may still be able to continue. As finally over. Ya held the back of his head, staring at a pair of dead fish eyes and said, Grandpa, third generation is good everywhere, but the speech is too long. I almost fell asleep. Choji nodded in agreement. I almost dropped my potato chips on the floor. Shikamaru couldn't help but rolled his eyes. You know how to eat. Hinata moved closer to Naruto and said in a weak mosquito's voice. Congratulations, Naruto. Fortunately, Naruto's ears are good enough to not miss Hinata's congratulations. Congratulations to you too, you have successfully advanced. Naruto said with a smile. Hinata's cheeks suddenly became rosy, and she lowered her head and fell into a shy state that she couldn't extricate herself from. It is said that the main match will be in 3 days, what are you going to do next? Tooth asked curiously. Sleep, Shikamaru said bluntly. No ambition. Kiba looked at Shikamaru contemptuously, and then looked at his good teammate Shino. Shina. Do you want special training next? Although I know it's impossible to beat Naruto, I don't intend to give up easily. Shino nodded. No problem. Xiao Li immediately raised his hand and said. Bring me one. I want special training too. When it comes to special training, I feel my blood is burning. Little Sakura and Ino looked at each other, and both saw the burning flames in each other's eyes. Choji asked while eating his potato chips. By the way, Naruto, do you want to practice too? Naruto nodded. Of course, precious time cannot be wasted just because of the Chunin exam. Actually, after dinner, I'm going to go to training. Shikamaru blinked and said, I'm not surprised at all. You cultivating madman. Immediately, I felt that everyone was going to practice, and I was the only one who would not look out of place. Finally Shikamaru gritted his teeth and said. Since you are all practicing, then I will go too. I don't want to be the tail of the crane. The preliminaries are officially over. The result exceeded many people's expectations. A total of 15 qualified candidates, 13 of them are Konoha village ninjas. The remaining 2 qualifiers are Tamari and Kankuro from Sanagakure. All contestants from other ninja villages were annihilated. The people in Konoha were naturally very satisfied with the result, and returned home happily. But the other people in Ninja Village were naturally full of thoughts about this result, and returned to the guest house with a sad face. Even Sanagakure, which has 2 qualifiers, is the same. Because Luo Sha knew that after Gaara failed, relying on Tamari and Kankuro would not be effective at all. As a result, the chiefs of Ninja Village, who had their own ghosts when they came, all looked sad when they returned. In the room at the Rain Shinobi Village reception, Chienshi Gisame looked at the silent crowd, and asked first. What do we do next? Continue to stay, or go back as soon as possible? Kakuzu said with a frown. Is there any need to stay? Staying around is just a waste of time. With this time, I might as well pick up some more missions on the black market. I'm in charge of the organization's finances. As he spoke, Kakuzu looked at everyone with unkind eyes. It's just this group of people who don't understand how hard it is for him to make money, and waste precious money recklessly. Sometimes Kakuzu even wants to leave the group. It's so bullying. Conan spoke up. If you stay, you can continue to observe Naruto's strength, but you don't need everyone to be present. I suggest that those who have something to do can leave first, leaving only a few people. Everyone stay. Pen interrupted Conan, who said after scanning everyone with his indifferent eyes. This is a rare opportunity to watch Naruto fight up close. Different from the preliminaries, in the main competition, Naruto will have to fight several times until the end, which means that he will probably expose more things. This is very important to us, and through your different perspectives, you may be able to discover Naruto's weaknesses. When Pain spoke, others naturally couldn't refute. Although Kakuzu felt that Pain was just bullying. But Kakuzu just curled his lips and didn't resist. After all, you can't beat it. Then Pain looked to Uchiha Itachi. And I have a hunch that Naruto will definitely show more this time around. Itachi frowned slightly, not understanding why Pain looked at him. But after a little thought, Itachi understood. Pain should think that Sasuke can inspire more cards from Naruto. And Itachi thinks so too, because Sasuke awakened Mangekyo. For a Uchiha ninja, the gap between the awakened Mangekyo and the unawakened is very huge. Like Obito, who is obviously just a Chunin with common qualifications, but after awakening Mangekyo, he can easily kill many powerful ninjas from the Kirigakure assassination team. Shisui's distinguished heavenly gods is known as the strongest illusion, directly modifying cognition. Itachi's own Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi are also very powerful pupil techniques. Although Itachi only saw Sasuke's Amaterasu, the other eye's ability did not see. However, with Mangekyo, it not only means that Sasuke's pupil power has been greatly improved, but also has been greatly enhanced in actual combat. Kisame touched Itachi's arm and said softly. It seems that Pain is very optimistic about your brother. Dried Persimmon Ghost Shark also saw it. Although it seems careless, Hoshigaki Kisame is not a fool. Pain was so obvious, everyone else noticed, but they also have to admit. Among all the passers-by, only the strength shown by Sasuke made them afraid. Others such as Ya, Xiao Li, Neji, etc., although they are also very powerful, they are only the power of common after all, without unique characteristics. You nodded lightly, but didn't reply. Looking up, Pain had already withdrawn his gaze. In these 3 days, I will definitely be responsible for collecting intelligence, but be careful not to be discovered. 3 days later, we will watch the main match. If the people in the 5 great ninja villages want to cause some damage, we may be able to take advantage of the chaos. But if the people in the 5 great ninja villages are honest, we will definitely not be able to stand out. Ensuring the existence of our Shao organization is the most important thing. Before the final plan begins, clear. Everyone answered in unison. The second floor of the Iwagakure guest house next door. A large room was brightly lit. Onoki sat on the chair, leaning on his chin with his hands, his face full of pain. Huang Tu on the side wanted to say something but dared not say it, for fear of being scolded by his father. After all, Onoki looked in a bad mood when he saw it. Black soil is not there. After all, what Onoki wanted to talk about was not a good thing, so naturally he couldn't let his precious granddaughter hear it. So I sent black soil early to rest. The people in the room are all the Jonins who came with the team this time. When we came, there were about 100 people in the whole team. As a result, a large number of contestants died directly in the Death Forest, and now the number of players has dropped by 2/3. It seemed that the guest house was empty. Onoki sighed heavily, and everyone in the room immediately raised their hearts. Father. Master Tsuchikage, what should we do next? After Huang Tu changed his tune, he said worriedly. This time we took the Chunin exam, it can be said to be a heavy loss. Although most of the genin teams are just used to make up the numbers, but so many sacrifices at the same time, there will be no pensions at that time. When Onoki heard this, his face became even more sad. What do you think should be done? Onoki raised his head and looked at each of them. You can be regarded as the high-level people in the village, can you all talk about your own ideas? All the Jonins looked at each other, feeling a little apprehensive. Although there are many things they want to say, they don't know where to start. Onoki looked at it, and simply raised his head. Let's talk about the issue of staying first. How many are in favor of leaving and how many are in favor of staying? If you want to leave, raise your hand and let me see. After a brief silence, several arms slowly raised up. Onoki glanced at it, nodded expressionlessly and said. A total of 5 people want to leave. Do you think this is the right time to leave? As one of the representatives of the leaving faction, Huang Tu hesitated for a moment, then stood up and said. Master Tsuchikage, is it necessary for us to stay now? In itself, we are just here to observe the situation, there is no plan for Naruto at all. Now that it's the race that everyone is looking forward to, there is no chance. Instead of staying here, it's better to go back and think about targeted matchmaking. Onoki nodded, and then looked at the party that didn't raise his hand. What's your reason? Wen Ya, who stood at the front, hesitated for a moment, then said. Master Tsuchikage, I think it is necessary to stay. Although Uzumaki Naruto showed great quality, I don't think that's all. Uzumaki Naruto must have hidden powers, and this Chunin exam is the best opportunity to observe, we must not miss it. Onoki nodded, non-committal. The room suddenly fell into silence. In fact, Onoki is not inclined to leave either. After all, it's all here. If there were only so many harvests, then the sacrifices of those participating genins in the village would be too much. Dozens of genin died here, and even Iwagakure, one of the 5 great ninja villages, couldn't accept it. If you can't bring back enough things, there will definitely be some ugly noises in the village after you go back. This is something Onoki doesn't want to face. But staying still has to face a possibility. If Naruto hadn't continued to reveal more of his hidden powers, it would have been a waste of time for them to stay. It's a gamble. The decision is in Onoki's hands. After long consideration, Onoki made a decision. Stay here. Boom. The window was slammed shut. Obito sat in a chair, frowning. Yagura, under the control of Obito, stood obediently aside while closing the window. There was no one else in the room except the 2 of them. At this time, a pitcher plant secretly appeared on the ground. Obito glanced at it, then looked away. The pitcher plant opened up, revealing the inside. Obito said lightly, "How's the situation over there?" Black Zetsu's hoarse voice reached Obito's ears. Pain intends to stay and continue to observe. Obito nodded. This is truly a rare opportunity. If you can use this to find a way to deal with Naruto, it will be a worthwhile trip. But it's not absolute. Black Zetsu picked up Obito's words. Although those little ghosts of Konoha are very strong, even surpassing the average Jonin. But I doubt they will be able to use their full strength. Obito nodded silently. What Black Zetsu said was exactly what Obito was worried about. After all, the only contestants in the main competition are Konoha. You said Temari and Kankuro. Just relying on the strength of these two people, they can't make any waves at all. Are you going to stay? Asked Black Zetsu. Obito hesitated and didn't answer immediately. Because Obito himself was hesitant. In fact, it is enough for people from Akatsuki to stay here to observe Naruto. Obito didn't have to stay. But if he didn't see it with his own eyes, Obito couldn't be relieved anyway. After hesitating for a while, he sighed and said, I'd better stay. Some things, I can rest assured only after seeing them with my own eyes. Black Zetsu nodded. Then I'll leave first. Also, someone will come to Lu in 10 seconds. Saying that, Ju quickly drilled into the ground and disappeared. Obito immediately controls Yagura to sit on the bed while he hides himself. Tuk tuk. There was a knock on the door. Mizukage-sama, are you asleep? There was no response from inside the house. Terumi Mei, who was standing at the door, bit her lip and continued to knock on the door. Still no response. Terumi Mei had no choice but to leave first. In the room. After confirming Terumi Mei's departure, Obito emerged from hiding. That woman is also a problem. Obito said in a low voice, a fierce light flashed in his eyes. But it soon converged. Although Terumi Mei is a threat, Dai Wang didn't take it seriously. It's just a woman with some strength, nothing to worry about. Now the person who cares more about Obito is Uzumaki Naruto. The plan of the genocide night was disrupted, and he almost revealed his identity. Naruto's threat. Obito has learned it all too well. This time, it depends on whether Sasuke can play some role. Obito's eyes were deep, and he opened the window to look in the direction of the Uchiha clan. Like Pen, Obito also favored Sasuke, who showed Mangekyo. After all, Obito also has Mangekyo himself, and has enough confidence in the power of Mangekyo. Obito believes that Sasuke will surprise him. Next, just wait patiently. Sanagakure Guesthouse. Chiyo wiped the sweat from his forehead, and after a long treatment, Gaara's injury was almost recovered. Although Gaara is still in a coma. After Luo Sha saw that the treatment was over, she immediately stepped forward and asked. Advisor Chiyo, how is the tail beast situation? Chiyo couldn't help but rolled her eyes. Your son almost died, and it turned out you cared more about the tailed beast, didn't you? Luo Sha said calmly. The tailed beast is an important property of the village, and it must not be lost. Chiyo was speechless, shook his head and said. There is no problem with the seal, but Shuhei seems to be very scared. In the past, once Gaara fell asleep, even in a coma, Shuhei would not be so peaceful. Now he is as honest as a quail. It seems that I was scared by Naruto. When Luo Sha heard the words, he immediately frowned. The tailed beast is like a war machine, which is very important to every village. But their war machine was scared by a 7-year-old child. This is just ridiculous. Luosha witnessed the whole process of Naruto beating Shuhei violently. Luo Sha is not incomprehensible that Shuhei will act like a turtle. But the sense of crisis in his heart kept emerging. Originally, there was a big gap between Sanagakure and Konoha village. But now, as the younger generation grows up, the gap is getting bigger and bigger. Up to now, Konoha, a 7-year-old child, has the ability to resist tailed beasts. This is too exaggerated. Luo Sha is hard to accept. After all, it was not easy for Luo Sha to suppress the tailed beast. But Naruto can easily suppress the tailed beast. Doesn't this mean that Naruto can easily suppress him? He is majestic. What is it to be suppressed by a 7-year-old boy? Although real battles are full of situations, it cannot be converted so simply. But in the eyes of those who don't know why, this simple record comparison is the result that is clear at a glance. Luo Sha can even imagine that after returning to Sanagakure, those guys who are eyeing his position will definitely use this to make a big fuss. Chiyo looked at the silent Rasa, then shifted his gaze to Temari and Kankuro, who were trembling. The two have been like this since they came back. Fear was written all over their faces. Since the plan has failed, there is no need for us to stay. Chiyo withdrew his gaze, looked up at Luosha and said. It's better to leave while he's here. Especially now that Gaara's condition is very bad, if he stays in Konoha, if Konoha's people plot evil. Luosha woke up startled, and immediately began to consider the possibility of such a thing. In fact, third generation had bad intentions when it said it wanted Gaara to heal his injury. Fortunately, Sanagakure's strongest medical ninja, Chiyo, also came with the team. Otherwise, Luosha really has to worry about whether the tailed beast in Gaara's body will be stolen by Konoha's people. Now hearing what Chiyo said, Luosha also had to consider the possibility of this matter. Honestly, not much. If Konoha's people really do this, unless Big Leaf turns all their Sanagakure people into grass. Otherwise, once he exposes Konoha's stealing of tail beasts, Konoha will inevitably become the target of public criticism from other ninja villages. Maybe other ninja villages would like to have such an excuse to go to war against Konoha. Luosha believes that he is not the only one who is afraid of Konoha's Naruto. I am afraid that the other ninja villages are also very afraid, so they will participate in this Chunin exam. If there is a reason, Luosha believes that other ninja villages will definitely not mind joining forces to eradicate the threat of Naruto directly. Thinking of this, Luosha shook his head and said, "Don't worry, Konoha won't do such a thing, unless they want to outrage." When Chiyo heard this, he stopped advising. When she said this, she just felt that the two frightened children were no longer suitable for continuing to take the exam. It's better to take advantage of the failure of the plan and go back directly. But since Luosha had other plans, Toshiro would not waste his time talking. Cloud Shinobi Village Guest House. Hateful. Boom. He slammed his fist heavily on the table, causing the table to fall apart. Reikage shouted angrily, full of unwillingness. For this plan, he sent a dozen dozens, jonin. This is jonin. Even Cloud Shinobi Village, one of the 5 great ninja villages, lost more than a dozen jonin at once, which is very traumatic. But the key is that I can't use this to trouble Konoha. Because these jonin are pretending to be genin to take the exam. If it is exposed, it will be their side that is in the wrong. This aggrieved feeling made I feel more and more angry. Dispel the anger, because of the prison. Killer Bee grabbed his boss and quickly comforted him. Also, don't make your voice so loud, it will be bad if others hear it. I snorted angrily and still shouted loudly, so what if they hear it? Lousy shouted angrily and didn't want to. Yes, of course. Killer Bee reluctantly followed I's words. Brother, you are Reikage, you can do whatever you want. However, this is the territory of other people after all, we still have to restrain ourselves a little bit. Snort. Under I Chongchong's table, the chair suddenly made a sound of being overwhelmed. If it wasn't for the high quality of the chair, otherwise I sat down vigorously, and he might catch up with the pace of the table immediately. She pushed his glasses and said while holding a document. Master Reikage, shall we return next? The plan failed, and the entire army of participating candidates was wiped out, which can be described as a heavy loss. It's pointless to stay here anymore, it's better to go back and make the next plan. She looked very calm, which is also the mentality she must have as a Reikage occultist. After all, I is a powder keg, and it will explode at any time. If she can't keep calm with this secret technique, then Cloud Shinobi Village's official duties can't be handled. Darui also agrees with Zai's statement. We have seen a lot of Naruto's strength, it is not a match that can be easily defeated. In fact, our previous plans were sloppy. Naruto can fight against the tail beast alone, I doubt whether the jonin we arranged can pose a threat to Naruto. Bushin's eyes swept over immediately. You mean my plan is to plead? Cold sweat immediately fell from Darui's forehead like a waterfall. He shook his head quickly and said, I didn't mean that, really, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that the plan is a bit ill-conceived. Seeing that the killing intent in I's eyes became more obvious, Darui quickly changed his words. No, the plan is perfect. Perfect. Just some accident, otherwise Uzumaki Naruto would have been eradicated in the dead forest. Snort. I snorted in satisfaction, and then said. I know what you want to say. You feel the plan is ill-conceived. The plan really lacked consideration, because we didn't know in advance that Naruto's comprehensive strength is so strong. This plan failed because of insufficient information. Since this is the case, we must not miss the opportunity to collect intelligence. She pushed his glasses and said, Master Reikage means, shall we stay and continue to observe? I nodded immediately. That's right, in the next main race, Uzumaki Naruto will have several fights. Let us collect enough information during this period. Only after collecting enough information can we formulate a meticulous plan. Anyone else have an opinion? Ai turned his head and looked around, his eyes were fierce. Under Ai's oppression, no one dared to say no. And those present felt that what Ai said made sense. Fear comes from the unknown. If they can discover Naruto's full strength, no matter how difficult it is to deal with, they will have enough confidence to face it. It's like when Onogi sent tens of thousands of ninjas to intercept 3rd Raikage and exhausted 3rd Raikage to death. The enemy's strength is not to be feared, but the real strength of the enemy is not known. Ninjas, after all, pay attention to an intelligence war. Whoever has more intelligence has the initiative. The discussion ended under pressure from Ai's side. Everyone returned to their respective rooms, with their own thoughts in mind. Waiting for the race in 3 days, time passes. 3 days passed quickly. During these 3 days, Naruto and the others were still practicing hard, without any relaxation. Other ninja villages with ulterior motives are probing around Konoha village, and what they can detect is limited. Every time they see Naruto, Naruto is either practicing or on the way to practice. The intelligence they can gather is very limited. 3 days, harvested. Now, they can only hope that in the main game, Naruto can show something different from the preliminaries. The race officially begins. Unlike the preliminaries without spectators. The race is open to everyone. This means that Jungbo needs a very large venue. And the venue chosen by 3rd generation is really big. Enough to accommodate more than 30,000 spectators. When Naruto and the others came together early in the morning, they saw a long queue of people queuing up to enter the venue. There are so many people. As Teeth spoke, it sounded, even a little nervous. Shikamaru didn't expect that Ya, who is usually careless, would feel nervous now. Relax, you'll only be able to take 1 round anyway. Hearing that, the tension suddenly disappeared. It was replaced by anger. What is a round trip? You only have a round trip. However, Shikamaru said with a relaxed face, that's how I prepared. Teeth froze. He stared blankly at Shikamaru who had no will to fight and walked away from him. Choji patted Ichiba on the shoulder, then walked past Ichiba with a seemingly endless supply of potato chips in his hand. No. The tooth came back to his senses, and hurried to catch up. How can you be so negative? This is the Chunin exam, if you were eliminated. Shikamaru said indifferently. Even if it doesn't happen this time, there will be a next time, we are only 7 years old now. There will be opportunities in the future, and the exams are really troublesome. Shikamaru waited for the dead fisheye to think. And Shikamaru is sure, after this exam, I am afraid that all these little friends will pass the exam. After all, in terms of strength, they are already stronger than the Jonin in the village. Naruto looked at the orderly flow of people entering the arena, and his heart was full of excitement. He will be here to show his strength to everyone. Naruto turned his head and met Sasuke's burning gaze. Smiling slightly, the fighting spirit in Naruto's eyes is no less than Sasuke's. He knew that there would definitely be plenty of surprises today. I just don't know if this surprise can be accepted by others. As players, Naruto and the others naturally don't need to enter through the audience channel. They were quickly guided by the staff to the players' preparation seats. Temari and Kankuro are already waiting here. There is also a person named Konoha Shinobi, who is actually Jien Meichung of Zhou Renjian. The chief examiner, Yuguang Haifeng, saw that everyone was present, and coughed lightly to attract everyone's attention. After seeing that everyone's eyes were on him, Yuguang Galifang coughed lightly and said, the main match is still an elimination system, divided into, the upper half of the cold zone and the lower half of the zone. Look, everyone. Moonlight Gale patted the blackboard behind him, on which the competition system plan was divided. At the bottom, the place where the player's name needs to be written is currently vacant, and it needs to be decided by drawing lots. Moonlight Gale continued. Because there are a total of 15 contestants, so in the first round there will be 1 bye. Next, all the contestants are asked to come forward 1 by 1 to cough and draw lots to determine their own games and opponents. I'll come first. Xiao Li raised his hands high, looking very active. He reached into the box in front of Moonlight Gale and rummaged through it, and then took out a white plastic ball. Open it and see what is written on the note inside. Number 4, Area A? Xiao Li raised his head and looked at Moonlight Gale with doubts. What does it mean? Moonlight Gale heard it, turned around and wrote Lock Li's name on the blackboard at the 4th position below. Xiao Li saw it and immediately understood. Then 1 by 1 on stage. The draw was quickly completed. The battles are. First half. Temari vs Sakura Jr. Kankuro against Lee. Shikamaru confronts Teeth. Choji to Shino. Second half. Ino is against Tianshin. Neji vs Hinata. Sasuke vs Naruto. Jien Meichung had a bye. After confirming the result of the match, Moonlight Gale asked two staff members to lift the blackboard away. At that time, the result of the match needs to be displayed on the big screen on the field. Okay, everyone, please cough and wait patiently for a while. The race is about to begin. Moonlight Gale said slowly. You don't need to be nervous, ahem, the main match is the same as the preliminaries. You don't need to win to pass the cough assessment. You just have to bring out ahem, all of your talents. The Jonins will determine whether you are eligible to advance based on your performance. Afterwards, the players gathered together in the preparation seats. They were discussing the result of the match. Konkuro and Tamari come to the corner. Konkuro sighed deeply. I definitely can't beat it. The speed of that watermelon head is too fast. It restrains me too much. Tamari said silently. Do your best, it's just a pity. Originally, before the competition, their father, Keisuke Rasa, told them that their task was to force Naruto to use more power when they met. But how could the two of them, who are only 8 or 9 years old, be able to do something that show he ran away? Therefore, not meeting Naruto made them both happy and worried. Happily, there is no need to face Naruto, a humanoid monster. The worry is their father. 10 minutes passed. The time came to 8 o'clock in the morning. After seeing the time, Moonlight Gale said to the players. The race is about to start, please come with me from the first match. Tamari and little Sakura stepped forward immediately, and they couldn't help but look at each other. Little Sakura's eyes were full of fighting spirit, but Tamari's seemed a little flinched. But it was only for a moment. Facing the little Sakura's fighting spirit, Tamari looked back at each other without showing any weakness. And at this time, the complete competition system was also displayed on the big screen in the arena. Seeing that Naruto faced Sasuke in the first round, some people got a little excited. I didn't expect that the two most powerful people would meet at once. Now we can definitely see Naruto's hidden strength. Dried Persimmon Kisame stared wide-eyed and said in surprise. Kakuzu is also very satisfied. After watching this game, there is no need to watch other games. Itachi looked at the big screen expressionlessly. But his heart was full of worries about his younger brother. Sasuke, be very careful, Conan said softly. At least it turned out better than we expected. Of the current contestants, only Uchiha Sasuke can test out Naruto's true strength. Next, everyone must concentrate and must not pass any screen. When everyone heard it, they all began to concentrate. When you see the result, the eyes of Reikage and others all brightened. Like the people of Akatsuki, although Reikage and the others don't know the power of Mangekyo Sharingan. But in the preliminaries Sasuke showed a sense of oppression and they did see it with their own eyes. Let's talk about who among the remaining contestants can force out Naruto's true strength. They'll definitely think it's Uchiha Sasuke, Reikage I couldn't help saying. It looks like a fierce battle. Onoki frowned slightly and glanced at Ai, cursing inwardly. Idiot. He even said it. Sure enough, upon hearing Ai's words, third generation asked curiously. Is your excellency Reikage very optimistic about the upcoming battle? Ai was startled, and said falteringly. Well, indeed, both players are very good. Onoki covered his face with his hands, and only stayed away from the muscular idiot. After hearing this, third generation immediately said with a smile. Then please pay more attention to Lord Reikage. Then he said to Keisuke Luosha on the other side. Look, the contestants are here. The contestant in the first round is your daughter, Your Excellency Keisuke. What do you think of the result of this match? Luosha said lightly. I'll find out in a while. It is said that there are two choices before the tomb. At this time, Sakura Jr. and Tamari have come to the center of the field. Moonlight Galewind looked at the two of them, and then said. Are you two ready? Little Sakura nodded. I can do it anytime. Tamari nodded cautiously, without speaking. Moonlight Gale nodded, coughed lightly and said. The third round of the Chunin exam, the first duel in the main competition, officially begins. After finishing speaking, the figure of Moonlight Gale left the center of the field in a flash. Tamari retreated quickly at the first time, and took down the big folding fan behind him at the same time. But when I looked up, little Sakura was nowhere to be seen. Oops. Tamari was startled and turned around quickly. What he saw was a small fist that rapidly expanded in his eyes. Boom. Whoosh, like a fired bullet, Tamari made a whistling sound in the air, and hit the wall straight. A hole was punched out of the solid wall. When the smoke cleared, Tamari had passed out. Before the audience had time to cheer for the start of the duel was over. Moonlight Gale had just left the field, and had to return within 2 seconds. Although I had a feeling that the game would end soon, Moonlight Galewind never expected it to be so soon. Sanagakure's Tamari player has passed out, so Konoha Village's little Sakura player wins. After a short silence, there was a deafening cheer from the audience. Oh. It's so handsome. Is this our Konoha ninja? It's so reliable. Go Konoha Shinobi. Konoha Shinobi rush me. My Okinawa is invincible. The audience seats in the entire arena were full, and basically all of them were people from Konoha and the surrounding villages. People from other ninja villages don't travel long distances to see the ninjas take their Chunin exams. Actually, third generation also invited daimyos from the 5 major countries. But no one came. This is also normal. It is normal for the big names of the 5 major countries not to come. After all, none of the ninjas who entered the race were from their ninja village. You said someone in Sanagakure broke through the main game? Check out the results. If the name of the country of wind really came, I'm afraid it would become a joke on the spot. The ninja who subsidized so much money every year was knocked down by someone? That's it. At least, in the distinguished box below the shadow. The Fire Country daimyo is very happy. Even if there is no one in the chair he prepared for other daimyos. He is still very happy. I even silently wondered in my heart whether I should give Konoha more money. It's too long. Face 10. The little Sakura returned to the preparation seat easily, and trotted directly to Naruto. How is it, Naruto-kun? How is my performance? Naruto smiled slightly and said, very good, did not disappoint the usual training. But I think you can go further, don't relax your pace. The little Sakura who got the compliment felt her heart was filled with motivation. She said eagerly, then I'm going to practice now. As he said that, he was about to run out. Where do you want to go? Ino quickly pulled the little Sakura back. There is still your game next. Only then did little Sakura wake up from her hothead. Oh, yes, I forgot. Little Sakura stuck out her tongue cutely. At this time, Xiao Li clenched his fist excitedly, and said with a fighting spirit on his face. It's my turn. As he said that, Xiao Li jumped out of the preparation seat, and landed on the exhibition hall like a cannonball. Boom. Smoke and dust filled the air. At the same time, the cheers of the audience were interrupted. Moonlight Gale looked calmly at Xiao Li's exaggerated appearance. He has seen this kind of thing a lot. Afterwards, Hayate's eyes turned to Kankuro, who was still in the battle officer. Kankuro swallowed, feeling extremely troubled. I just saw the miserable end of my sister in. Kankuro really didn't want to end up like his sister. But if he doesn't play, he will meet the wrath of his father Luo Sha. After struggling for a long time, Kankuro gritted his teeth and held out his hand. I abstain. As soon as these words came out, the audience was in an uproar. Obviously worked hard to reach the main match, but abstained before the start of BU? Then why did you pass the preliminaries? Here Kankuro abstain. Onoki immediately looked at Luo Sha, his eyes full of ridicule. Although Iwagakure doesn't have a single breakout player, but there is no such coward who loses without a fight. A sharp light flashed in Luo Sha's eyes, but it disappeared quickly. Obviously, after returning, Kankuro will definitely be punished. In the viewing seats of Rain Shinobi Village, dried persimmon Kisame couldn't help but whistled. The puppet boy of Sanagakure has surrendered. Looks like he's scared. Saying that, Hoshigaki Kisame set his sights on Scorpion. By the way, you are also from Sanagakure, do you feel angry? Xie glanced at Gonshi Guisha lightly, and said. At least better than some ninjas who didn't break through the main game. This map cannon directly bombed everyone present. In this Chunin exam, it can be said that most ninja villages in the whole ninja world have participated. Except for some hidden ninja villages, Deidara was immediately furious. If you, Sanagakure, hadn't encountered a few trash, how could they break through the main match with their strength? Scorpion turned to look at Deidara. Then I don't know which ninja village the waste they defeated belonged to. Deidara froze for a moment. Thinking back carefully, he realized that both Tamari and Kankuro's opponents were from Iwagakure. Now Deidara was embarrassed. Okay, isn't it good for others to abstain? It also just saved us time. Conan stepped up to smooth things over. If the organization breaks because of this incident, then their organization will become a joke. Here Kankuro abstained. Everyone in the preparation seat was taken aback. They stared blankly at Kankuro, who was trembling involuntarily, not understanding why the other party abstained. No, why? Tooth asked suspiciously. It's hard to get here, but you abstain before playing. Shikamaru said with a smile. Haha, Xiao Li is dumbfounded. When everyone heard this, they quickly looked at Xiao Li, who was standing blankly on the field. Appeared with the coolest posture, but the result of waiting for him was that the opponent abstained? Xiao Li, who thought he could have a good fight, was dumbfounded. The whole person opened his mouth wide, and his eyes turned into white circles, which was completely unacceptable to this result. There was no special change in Moonlight Gale, it just recorded the result of the battle and announced it unhurriedly. Sanagakir Konkuro abstained, so ahem, the winner is Lok Li from Konoha village. Then, he said to Xiao Li, who was still sluggish. Okay, you can exit and prepare for the next game. Next is the third battle. However, Xiao Li still stood in place like a sculpture. Konoha Jonin Group. Might Guy couldn't help covering his cheek. Poor little Li. Obviously you were looking forward to it so much, and even prepared a nirvana, but in the end. While talking, Might Guy even had strips of tears on his face. Kakashi sighed and patted Might Guy on the shoulder to make him feel sorry. Wrong. This is just one game, and there are still several games waiting for him. His preparation will not be in vain. It doesn't matter whether Xiao Li accepts it or not. Anyway, he was doomed to win without a fight. Then it's the third game. Shikamaru against Teba. Tooth gearing up, said with a smile, "It's our time." Shikamaru said listlessly, "I really want to abstain." Tooth suddenly said vigilantly, "You dare." Shikamaru shook his head regretfully. "I really didn't dare. If I did, my mother would be nagging me when I got home." Tooth suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. The two jumped down from the preparation seats one after another and came to Yuguang Gale. As the game began, the two used the body flicker technique one after another, and their figures staggered back and forth on the field. The speed is so fast that people keep exclaiming, "Is this a Genin match? Stop joking around." Jonin doesn't necessarily have such a quick body flicker technique. After a series of trials, Shikamaru found the opportunity to control Fang with shadow mimicry. Kei-Ya is not fighting alone. At the critical moment, Akamaru makes an appearance. In the end, Yu-Ya won the victory and advanced to the next round. Then it was Choji versus Shino. In the face of Shino's bombardment, Choji was defeated in disgrace. Then it's the second half. Ino played against Tianshin. Another pair of girls duel. Ino wants to use family secrets to control the situation. But he guarded against Ino's move every day and never gave him a chance. Moreover, Tianshin's explosive concealed weapon is very powerful, causing smoke and dust everywhere, making Ino unable to gain vision at all. In the end, he lost helplessly. After this game, what follows is a focus battle. The civil war of the Hyuga clan. Hyuga Hinata, against Hyuga Neji. "Miss, I will not show mercy." Hyuga Neji said seriously, "I will do my best, and I hope Miss Tien can do the same." Hinata also spoke seriously. "I will, Neji big brother. I will definitely use all my strength." At this time, Ino came up and put his arms around Hinata, and said with a smile, "Why are you so serious? It's just a discussion. It's best not to hurt everyone." Being hugged by someone, even a girl, the shy Hinata's cheeks turned rosy quickly. I know," Hinata said in a low voice, breaking free from Ino's restraint. At this time, Naruto stepped forward and said to the two, "I hope you don't have any regrets and show your style." Neji nodded seriously and said, "I will." Hinata blushed, but said seriously, "Me too, Naruto-kun." Naruto smiled and rubbed Hinata's little head. "Go. Show your strength to everyone. Don't fall for the name of the Hyuga family." The two did not speak, but nodded heavily. Afterwards, the two walked down the stairs step by step and came to the arena. Obviously, many people are very concerned about this battle. Master Patriarch, this competition, the elder of the Hyuga clan, frowned. "There is a problem with this matchup table. How can the people from the branch house compete with the eldest lady of the Zong family?" Hyuga Hiyashi said flatly, "This is a fair duel, and it was not intended by Lord Third Generation." The elder still felt unconvinced. "But if it goes on like this, how decent is it? When the people in the branch house see it, won't it be an opportunity to challenge us?" The elder who spoke to Hyuga Ri just stared at him without speaking. It wasn't until the elder was so stared at that he felt hairy in his heart that he spoke slowly. "The elders think that Hinata will lose." The elder immediately nodded and said, "Neji is 1 year older after all, and he's still a genius of his generation. And Hinata with her talent." Hyuga Hiyashi interrupted the elder's words. "How long has it been since you watched Hinata practice?" The elder who was interrupted didn't know why. "It's been a while. Recently, I left the village for a while because of something in the clan. I just came back recently. Don't you know the patriarch too?" Hyuga Hiyashi said flatly. "Then don't talk too much, just watch quietly. You will know exactly how strong Hinata is." The elder didn't know why, so he closed his mouth with a trace of suspicion. "But my heart is still whispering. How long has passed? How could that little girl Hinata beat the genius Neji? Still, let me watch quietly. I'll just see how the girl Hinata loses. Snort. Hyuga Hiyashi didn't know what was going on inside the elder. Even if you know it, you won't care. It is said to be the clan, but it is just a clown. He has a good background, but his thoughts and awareness are very low, which makes Hyuga Hiyashi despise the existence. On the field, Hinata and Neji faced each other 5 meters apart. Both of them looked very serious, although, both have learned a lot under Naruto. But in this fight, both of them knew that there was only one move they would use. Are you all ready? Moonlight Gale looked around and announced after seeing both of them nodding. Game start. As soon as Yu Guang Gaifeng finished speaking, before he left, he saw White's light flashing from both sides. Moonlight Hayate, who fought together with the Hyuga clan, naturally recognized what it was. Gentle Fist 8 trigrams 64 palms. Gentle Fist 8 trigrams 64 palms. The two used the same move at the same time. Immediately, the figure flashed, and the two collided with each other. Moonlight Gale, who hadn't left yet, only saw countless palm shadows appearing in front of his eyes. Bang bang bang. Da-da-da. No superfluous exchanges and no superfluous nonsense. From the very beginning, the battle entered a fierce stage. Hinata and Neji. The fists of the two kept colliding, making dull or crisp sounds. Every time there is a collision, there will be a wave of air. It can be seen how powerful the two are. And under this huge force, the two boys and girls who were only 7 or 8 years old couldn't stand firm in place at all. This also caused them to keep disappearing in this wide arena. The speed. The power. Raikage Eye stared at the battle below, his eyes were full of scorching heat. I'm afraid even the patriarch of the Hyuga clan is at this level. Ai's eyes on the Hyuga clan can be described as jealous. Even when the peace agreement was signed, he sent his men to steal Hinata. However, Hyuga Hiyashi, who arrived in time, saw through and teased Cloud Shinobi Ninja. Cloud Shinobi took the opportunity to attack and demanded compensation from Konoha. Asked Konoha to exchange his life for another, and send Hyuga Hiyashi's body there. However, in the face of this rude request, in order to avoid another outbreak of war, third generation persuaded the Hyuga family to swallow their anger, and finally replaced by Hyuga Hiyashi's younger brother, Neji's father Yushiong Hazashi. All in all, Cloud Shinobi is very obsessed with rolling eyes. It's a pity that there will be no better chance to win the white eyes later. Third generation heard Ai's words and said with a smile. The two children are still 29 years old, and they are not as good as Hiyashi. But given time, they will definitely be able to surpass Hiyashi. A smug smile filled his wrinkled face. Seeing Ai yaws itching, very uncomfortable. But no matter how upset Ai was, there was nothing he could do at the moment. The battle continues. 64 palms may seem like a lot, but to the two of them, it only takes a few seconds to finish all of them. In less than 10 seconds, the two fought from east to west, from south to north. The entire arena was filled with figures of two people. Although their speed is not like that of Naruto, there will even be afterimages. But it's still amazing. After the last palm was played, the two did not decide the winner. They didn't even separate from each other, but immediately started a new round of Gentle Fist. Gentle Fist profound meaning 128 palms, x2. Hearing the crisp shouts of the two, some of them couldn't help but widen their eyes. After all, except for the Hyuga family and a few people, most people's understanding of Gentle Fist is still at 64 palms. How is it possible? Isn't Gentle Fist only 64 palms? This is unbelievable. Look. Both of them can barely see, it's so fast. Am I dazzled? Why do they have 4 hands? If this hits the body, I'm afraid it will be torn apart right away. Isn't 64 palms really the limit of Gentle Fist? They broke the limit of Gentle Fist? They are only 7 or 8 years old. Do they already have such terrifying strength? It's nothing like any 7 or 8-year-old I've ever known. Everyone in the auditorium talked a lot, and they were full of disbelief for what they saw. Not just these common audiences. The ninjas of those other ninja villages widened their eyes even more. Especially those older ninjas, they have all experienced the Gentle Fist of the Hyuga clan on the battlefield. However, it was the first time they heard that Gentle Fist's profound meaning was more than 64 palms, let alone saw it with their own eyes. Watching the figures of the two boys and girls turn into a shadow and appear around the arena, the palms with afterimages made them involuntarily put themselves into it. Then they found out in horror that if they were facing such an extremely fierce attack, they might not be able to sustain it at all. It's too fast, too hard. If the Hyuga clan I met before could do this, I'm afraid I wouldn't be alive at all. A sand shinobi ninja said with a sigh. Is this the ultimate mystery of the Hyuga clan? It seems that I really took my life. A certain mist shinobi ninja who survived Tahiyashi wiped the cold sweat from his brow. It's really scary. The white eyes of the Hyuga clan paired with gentle fist is simply the strongest physical skill. A cloud shinobi slid down his throat with difficulty, feeling his mouth become astringent and tight. I'm afraid that even the strongest earthen wall can't stop such a fierce attack. Rock shinobi sighed deeply, his eyes full of fear. They are all jonin in each village, have experienced cruel battlefields, and faced many enemies. Someone even killed a member of the Hyuga clan on the battlefield, of course the branch house. The Zong family rarely set foot on the battlefield. In order to ensure that Bai Yin's blood inheritance limit will not be lost. The branch house does not need to worry about these because of Caged Bird. In fact, it wasn't they who were shocked by Shang's further mysteries. Even jonin in Konoha village, few people know that Gentle Fist has 128 palms. After all, this is the mystery that Naruto brought to the Hyuga clan. Except for the Hyuga clan, and a few others, no one knew about it at all. At this moment, these Konoha shinobi practitioners couldn't help showing a look of surprise when they saw the two people displaying the profound meaning of 128 palms. Since when did Gentle Fist have 128 palms? Might Guy looked puzzled. Kakashi did know who it was coming from. I heard it was developed by Naruto. Upon hearing Naruto's name, Might Guy said suddenly. So it's Naruto boy, it's okay. Kakashi rolled his eyes, then turned his attention to the battle below. There are many people in Konoha Jonin who are as confused as Might Guy. But they didn't have an answer from Kakashi, so they could only continue watching with doubts. Although it seems like a long time, but this is the meaning of Gentle Fist after all. It would be meaningless to hit 128 palms slowly. 128 palms must be struck within a certain period of time before it can be called a profound meaning. In the usual time of playing 64 palms, I hit twice the number of palms. This means that the speed of palming must be faster, and the strength cannot be weakened. Otherwise, if the power is weakened, there will be no point in increasing the quantity. In about 5 seconds, the two of them had to complete 128 palms. It takes more than 20 palms in 1 second. And it's mobile too. Even if it is something that Jonin may not be able to do, the two boys and girls who are only 7 or 8 years old not only did it, but they are also very comfortable. Looking at Hinata who kept pace with him, Neji frowned. Miss is really hard-working, she was able to keep up with my speed. However, I will not admit defeat. Neji's eyes froze. After finishing the last palm of the 128 palms, the next stage of profound meaning was immediately followed. Gentle Fist Esoteric 192 palms. It's time to end. Neji thought, and the speed of palming increased again. But the next moment, Neji's eyes widened. Because, every time he slaps, Hinata hits with incomparable precision. Hinata also used the secret technique of the next stage. 192 palms versus 192 palms. Neji Big Brother is amazing. As expected of a Neji Big Brother called a genius. But I won't give up. If I admit defeat here, the point of Naruto-kun personally teaching me will be gone. Hinata was extremely firm in her heart. In this match, she has a reason why she can't lose. As the shooting speed increased, ordinary people could see countless afterimages of the palms of the two with their naked eyes. The tooth in the preparation seat said in surprise. I didn't expect that Hinata, who is usually quiet, can even draw with that Neji. When little Sakura heard this, she immediately defended Hinata. That's because you didn't notice how seriously Hinata cultivated at all. Whenever I have free time, Hinata will practice Tuya. It's not like you guys who always look for opportunities to be lazy. When saying this, little Sakura gave Shikamaru a hard look. Evidently Mr. Naruto taught us so hard, but you dare to be lazy. You really failed Mr. Naruto's 600 kindness. Shikamaru froze, then turned around and saw Naruto who was squinting, and couldn't help laughing. Well, Naruto, I am not lazy, I have been very serious, everyone can testify. Right, nah? As Shikamaru said, he kept winking at Shino. But Shino, who was wearing sunglasses, obviously didn't see it. What Shikamaru said is not right. If I want to say why, I saw with my own eyes that I took 5 minutes more rest than others. Shikamaru's eyes widened in shock, never expecting that Shino, who seemed honest, would betray him. Naruto reached out, held Shikamaru's shoulder, and said. When the Chunin exam is over, I will take you to practice seriously. This is the best time for us to improve, and I will not allow you to waste your good time like this. Be prepared, Shikamaru. There was a lot of cold sweat on Shikamaru's forehead, and it continued to flow down his cheeks. I know, Shikamaru replied helplessly, his eyes became dull. He could already foresee what kind of hellish daily life would be waiting for him next. He. Tooth suddenly smiled secretly. But immediately afterwards, Ya felt his hair stand on end, as if another terrifying sight was staring at him. Fang's neck was like rust, he turned around stiffly, and saw Naruto's indifferent eyes. Teeth immediately laughed. Well, I'm not being lazy. I'm right, I'm very serious and hardworking. Yeah. Naruto said noncommittally, but I think you can go further. And recently your grades are very serious, especially in physics and chemistry, and your grades have dropped very seriously. I will tutor you in your studies. Fang suddenly let out a miserable cry. No. I will redouble my training. Don't make me study physical chemistry. Now it's the other people's turn to laugh. You have today too. No one found out about the preparations. All eyes were on the two people who were elusive on the field. 192 palms. 3 times as many as 64 palms. In other words, the speed is also tripled. At this moment, the two seem to have turned into Senju Guanyin, and their 2 palms have turned into countless afterimages, constantly colliding with each other amidst the violent collision sound. In each collision, the bodies of the 2 people will randomly appear in any position of the exhibition hall. And as the speed became faster and faster, the arena was even filled with afterimages of the 2 of them. Their speed was so fast that afterimages appeared. And there are more than 1 or 2 afterimages left on the field. Throughout the arena, there are afterimages of the 2 of them everywhere. At least a dozen. The audience doesn't know how to judge whether the ninja is strong or not. After all, as common people, they have never gone deep into the world of ninjas, so naturally they don't know what kind of ninjas are considered powerful. But now this situation, look closely with the naked eye, as common people, they also know that the strength of the 2 people in the field is terrifying. This is not a clone technique or shadow clone or anything like that. This is the afterimage of pure speed. The auditorium, which was filled with cheers, shouts, and cheers just now, became completely silent at this moment. They were all deeply shocked, fighting by 2 boys and girls. This is a battle that they may not necessarily be able to see in their entire lives. So hearty and joyful, so vivid, there are no fancy ninjutsu, nor any intrigue. Just fighting with the same moves, this is not even a duel between 2 ninjas, but a duel between 2 samurai. Perhaps it is precisely because of this that the blood of all the audience present is excited. The fierce collision is still going on. The dull sound spread rapidly along with waves of sound, giving people a great sense of oppression. The 2 people in the battle didn't pay attention to anything else, only the opponent at the moment in their eyes. Every punch, every palm, collided fiercely together. Until this point, neither Hinata nor Neji hit each other. The moves of the 2 will always collide exquisitely, unable to really hurt each other. Finally, the last palm of the 192 palms blasted out. Accompanied by a loud noise, the figures of the 2 separated for the first time. The huge power of the last palm made the 2 of them slide backwards, and 2 deep marks were slid out on the ground. Ha! Ha! Ha ha! Both gasped. Although the entire duel actually took less than half a minute. However, the physical strength consumed by the 2 of them in this short period of time is very huge. Not only must you ensure the power of your own profound meaning, but you must also ensure that you cannot let the opponent's attack fall on you. Both Hinata and Neji's bodies are too fragile compared to their offensive power. After all, they are still 7 or 8-year-old boys and girls, and their physical growth is limited. The audience was silent, only the panting sounds of 2 people spread throughout the arena. The next move will determine the outcome. Naruto said lightly. Others had this hunch, too. Sasuke crossed his arms and said, Neji will win. Naruto immediately set his eyes on Sasuke. I think Hinata will win. Sasuke snorted coldly and said, Neji's talent is higher than Hinata's, and Neji practiced very hard. On the other hand, Hinata, her talent is mediocre, and she is always easily distracted when she is practicing. Naruto shook his head with a smile and said, Do you think so? Actually, when Hinata is practicing, he occasionally gets distracted because they moved. Kiba let out an exclamation, interrupting Naruto's words. Everyone's attention immediately turned to Hinata and Neji. Not only them, but everyone's eyes were on the 2 of them. It seems that there is a tacit understanding. Hinata and Neji shouted at the same time, calling out their final moves. Gentle fist, profound, meaning 256 palms, x2. Like a thunderclap on the ground, everyone was awakened. Did I hear it wrong? 256 palms? There are still more? It's unbelievable. The stadium is full of afterimages of them. This speed, this power. It's hard to imagine that they are only 7 or 8 years old. I'm still playing with mud at my age. People are already so strong. There is really no comparison between people, the gap is really too big. Is this the background and strength of the #1 ninja village? It's really terrifying. Shocked, shouted, cheered. Various voices erupted in the stands. People can't believe what they hear and see. But the reality was in front of them, and they couldn't help but believe it. The average viewer only sees the afterimages of Hinata and Neji all over the arena. They can't even tell which is real and which is an afterimage. It's so fast, so realistic. Although I know it is very powerful, I can't tell exactly what is so powerful. And the Jonins of each ninja village, watching Hinata and Neji finally broke out, felt a little trembling in their hearts. Because they found out, let them face Hinata and Neji at this moment, they can't win. This fact shocked them and made them panic. They are the Jonin of each ninja village, the elite of each ninja village. In the end, even the 7 or 8-year-old children in Konoha village can't compare? This is simply a joke, but reality is no joke. They saw it for themselves. Hinata and Neji are much stronger than the average Jonin. And this is because the two of them didn't use the ninjutsu taught by Naruto. If the two used those ninjutsu, it would probably shock everyone present even more. But now, from the beginning to the present, the two of them who have been doing their best are almost exhausted. This is the last move of the two. This point, Hinata and Neji know best. Unexpectedly, that cowardly lady at the beginning has become so strong. Neji felt a little emotional, but the strength in his hand didn't ease in the slightest. I can't lose. Keep going. Hinata gritted her teeth, tightening her last breath without letting up. The shadows of palms all over the sky staggered, and there were loud roars. 256 palms are a lot, but eventually there will be an end. Until the last moment, neither of them relaxed in the slightest. The last palm blasted out, carrying the last and strongest experience. The palms of the two pressed together with a crisp sound. Then, the figures of the two flew upside down at the same time under the huge force, and slammed into the wall fiercely. The broken walls brought up a lot of dust and blocked the viewer's sight. Everyone stood up involuntarily, poking their heads to see who won. Who's winning? Teeth clenched his fists and said. Did Hinata win? I saw that Hinata seems to be flying slower. Shino patted Teeth on the shoulder and said. Don't be nervous, the result will be known soon. Trust Hinata. Trust our teammates. Tooth nodded silently. And Naruto looked at Sasuke. Sasuke pouted, but said nothing. But it seems that everything has been said. With the eyesight of the two of them, they naturally saw more things than theirs. So, in the eyes of the two, the outcome has already been decided. The smoke and dust drifted away slowly. In the ruins of the two slammed walls, a thin figure stood up unsteadily. It's Hinata. Hinata stands up. Look at the other side. Neji fell into a coma. In the end, it was Hinata who won. This completely exceeded everyone's expectations. No one expected that Hinata, who was younger and thinner, won the victory. Moonlight Gale immediately confirmed Neji's situation, and after judging that Neji was unable to continue the game, he announced by voice. Because Hyuga Neji is in a coma. Therefore, the winner is Hyuga Hinata. The audience suddenly erupted. The audience cheered loudly. Because they saw a high-level fight, they may not necessarily be able to see a high-level battle in their entire lives. Even though they are common people, they have no idea what this battle means. But it doesn't matter, in their opinion, as long as the battle is exciting enough, it will be fine. And this battle is undoubtedly very exciting. This is by far the best fight ever, Hardy. However, in sharp contrast to the cheering audience, it was the ninjas of each ninja village. They watched the result of the game dumbfounded, still full of shock. This game was really too shocking for them. The great strength of Hinata and Neji, more secrets of Gentle Fist, and the age of Hinata and Neji. In all of this, Jong clearly shows that these two boys and girls are extraordinary. They don't even need to think about it carefully. In the future 10 years later, this ninja world will inevitably have the names of these two boys and girls. With such a strong strength, isn't it even a chunin? Stop joking. With this strength, I'm afraid even the leader of our village can't compare. Is this the background of the 5 major countries? But why were people from the other 4 countries eliminated early? Even Sanagakure, who broke into the main match, was defeated simply and neatly. Could it be that Konoha is special? No. It should be that the students in Konoha's class are special. Didn't you find that they are all about the same age? It must be that Konoha has a unique secret technique that forcibly raised their age. Just talk nonsense. Hyuga and Uchiha are alright, but there are civilian ninjas among these children. Will Konoha's senior management be willing to use this secret technique on civilian ninjas? This, all in all, Whether it's these two Hyuga family members, or those powerful boys and girls before, their names will be spread throughout the ninja world in the future. Konoha, the head of the 5 great powers, is so terrifying. Is there such a huge gap between our little ninja village and the 5 major countries? It's so disappointing. I don't know if we can join Konoha. I don't know if Konoha is still recruiting people. Just your aptitude. You can't even match me, so let's forget it. Who do you look down on? You look down on whoever speaks. Stop arguing. The next game is about to start. The audience is still cheering for the exciting matchup they just saw. But the ninjas who were shocked by the discussion just now quickly quieted down. As if the Shizune key was pressed. Just because of the 2 figures appearing on the field at this time. In other words, most people are staring at only one of them. Uzumaki Naruto. It can be said that Naruto has been the focus of attention since the Chunin exam. However, these ninjas have never been able to confirm Naruto's true strength. Even though Naruto resisted the tailed beast with his physical body just 3 days ago, and even crushed the tailed beast. However, the sharp-sighted elites of various villages have seen that Naruto is capable of doing things with ease. That is to say, it's not Naruto's limit at all. Therefore, this battle can be described as the focus of attention. Even if it's still just the knockout stage. Now, Naruto and Sasuke stood on both sides of the referee Moonlight Hayate, waiting for the start of the game. All eyes are focused here. Moonlight Gale was obviously not the focus, but he still felt heavy pressure. He swallowed involuntarily and looked around. Auditorium. Akatsuki organized everyone to stare at the 2 of them. Everyone except Itachi stared at Naruto. Itachi stared at his younger brother. Itachi, your brother should be able to inspire some of Naruto's strength in this match, right? Hoshigaki Kisame asked intently. Now your brother is the only one who has a chance to force Naruto's strength. Itachi said lightly. Sasuke's strength may be much worse than Naruto's. Although he is very hardworking, it is obviously not impossible to catch up with the inhuman Naruto. Sasuke, be careful. Don't be arrogant. Don't be impulsive. Victory and defeat are commonplace in military affairs. In Itachi's memory, his younger brother was still at the moment he left. Although Sasuke's strength at that time was already very strong, it was much worse than Naruto's strength that Itachi had seen. Although Itachi saw Sasuke's Mangekyo with his own eyes in the preliminaries 3 days ago, Itachi is still not very optimistic about Sasuke. Just because the strength displayed by Naruto is too shocking. Scorpion said lightly. If your brother can't force out Uzumaki Naruto's hidden strength, then there's no point in us staying. I hope your brother won't waste our precious time, otherwise. Itachi turned his head suddenly, staring at Chie with cold eyes. Do you want to die? Scorpion looked over not to be outdone. Who do you think you're talking to? Okay, stop arguing. Conan frowned slightly. Don't forget our purpose. If you want to quarrel, you can just quarrel after you go back. As long as no one dies, you can do whatever you want. Snort. Itachi snorted coldly, and continued to look at his brother. Pain was completely oblivious to what happened behind him. He is now only interested in the next fight. The stands where the Kirigakure ninjas are located. Finally, the moment has come. Obito's eyes stared unblinking, not wanting to miss any detail. Why hasn't it started yet? What is that referee waiting for? Get started. What is Moonlight Gale waiting for? He didn't wait for anything, but was overwhelmed by the heavy pressure, and forgot to announce for a while. 5 shadows stand. When Raikage saw Naruto and Sasuke play, his eyes lit up immediately. Finally they're here. Hope the kid from Uchiha's family won't let us down. Onoki glanced lightly at Raikage beside him, frowning slightly. Although I said very lightly, Onoki still heard it. It was immediately clear in my heart that I had the same purpose of staying with him. All to see Naruto's true strength. Perhaps, it's not just them. Onogi looked past I and 3rd generation, and looked at Kazekage Luosha, who was also steadfast. Only Mizukage Yagura looked very plain, not as eager as they were at all. He is really an indifferent person. I always feel that this guy hides very deeply. Onogi glanced at Yagura with fear, and then withdrew his gaze to avoid being noticed by them. As everyone knows, the reason why Yagura is very calm is because Obito controls Yagura's thoughts behind the scenes. Otherwise, Citrus Yagura would certainly be like them. On the field. The sun hangs high in the sky, and the scorching sun shines on Saikai, without even a shadow. Beads of sweat appeared on Yuguang Gale's forehead, and he seemed a little at a loss. Logically speaking, as Moonlight Gale whined Jonin, the sight of tens of thousands of people would not let him have any experience at all. Maybe, but certainly not many. But now, the attention of elite ninjas from various villages made Moonlight Gale feel heavy pressure, and even his sight began to distort due to the increase in temperature. Have you started yet? The sudden sound awakened Moonlight Gale. He suddenly raised his head and looked at the speaker. It was Sasuke, who was full of impatience. How long are you going to let us stand here? Oh. Okay. Let's start now. Moonlight Gale came back to his senses, stuttered, and then raised his hands to announce. Match 7 of the knockout round. Uzumaki Naruto from Konoha Village against Uchiha Sasuke, also from Konoha Village. The competition is now. Start. Whoosh. Moonlight fled the arena like a gale. However, the scene where he expected Naruto and Sasuke to fight did not appear. Even though he announced the start, Naruto and Sasuke just stood there without moving. However, as a Jonin's intuition, Moonlight Gale was able to feel the invisible but substantial aura of the two of them. I've been waiting for this day, Naruto. Sasuke said lightly, but there was a raging fighting spirit in his eyes. For this day, he kept practicing hard. Now, Sasuke has acquired a brand new power, able to challenge Naruto's power. At this moment, Sasuke is full of confidence. Naruto smiled lightly and said, "Me too, waiting for you to approach me." Sasuke's jaw tightened suddenly, although Sasuke himself knows that he is a challenger. But the pride of being the Uchiha clan made him feel endless humiliation when he heard Naruto say that. A glib tongue won't make your strength any better. Sasuke's eyes gradually turned cold. Just today, I'll let everyone know. Me. Uchiha Sasuke is the strongest ninja. I'll wait and see. Naruto still looked very indifferent. The two stood quietly, and the scene became very quiet for a while. The audience held their breaths and waited for the start of the game, but they frowned when they saw that the two hadn't moved for a long time. Some even wanted to swear. But before they really cursed out loud, the situation in the arena changed immediately. Whoosh whoosh. A series of shurikens were thrown by Sasuke very fast. Moreover, they collided with each other in the air, changing the direction of the attack, making it even more unpredictable. Immediately afterwards, Sasuke quickly formed a seal, and spit out a great fireball with a diameter of more than 10 meters from his mouth. A combo is completed in less than 2 seconds. The audience only saw a blink of an eye, and a very huge fireball appeared in front of Sasuke, pushing towards Naruto with a thunderous force. Naruto did not rush, condensed a Rasengan, and threw it out. After the Rasengan was thrown out, it expanded rapidly, reaching a diameter of 5 meters. Although it can't compare with the great fireball with a diameter of 10 meters, the power of Rasengan is stronger. The two collided, and an extremely strong blast was generated immediately. The audience was hit by the strong hurricane one after another, and they couldn't even open their eyes. Fortunately, hurricanes come and go quickly. In just a few seconds, the hurricane stopped. The audience quickly opened their eyes and looked left and right on the field, looking for the figures of Naruto and Sasuke. After Sasuke spit out the great fireball, he didn't care anymore. He knew that this level of attack would not have any effect on Naruto. This great fireball is only used to block Naruto's sight. Immediately, Sasuke quickly separated a dozen shadow clone to hide his figure. The instant the blast subsided, the dozen or so shadow clones rushed towards Naruto with various attacks. But Sasuke's shadow clone combined attack was in vain. After the blast, Naruto's figure was no longer there. Just as Sasuke's shadow clone was looking for Naruto, the ground exploded. The figures of Naruto and Sasuke suddenly jumped out from the burst ground. When they were in the air, the two quickly exchanged more than a dozen moves, and then quickly separated. At this time, Sasuke's shadow clone rushed forward to besiege Naruto. But Naruto activates the blasting trap that has been prepared to clear all the Sasuke shadow clone in an instant. Landing on the ground, the two temporarily stopped attacking. This short offensive and defensive battle seems very long, but it only lasts a few seconds. All the process looks dazzling, but it is fatal. Compared to Hinata and Neji's fist-to-hand fight, Sasuke and Naruto's match looks more like ninja. But it's even more beautiful. As soon as the game started, the audience all stood up, opened their mouths and stared at the two on the field in disbelief. It shocked them even more than the match between Hinata and Neji. The entire arena, including the auditorium, was completely silent. But soon, the silence was broken by deafening cheers. This is insane. I thought the previous fight was already strong. Turns out this time it's even stronger. Naruto will not let us down. I knew this boy must be extraordinary. He is the living god of medicine. I remember him. Oh my god. Both of them are too powerful. Is this the strength of Konoha Genin? Don't talk nonsense. Even Jonin can't compare to the two of them. Damn it. So strong. I only hate myself for being uneducated, and go all over the world with one sentence. The audience cheered in shock, but some people's faces became ugly. The series of offense and defense is really too meticulous. Conan said with a frown. Neither of them showed any flaws, and how did Naruto find Sasuke hiding under the ground just now? I didn't even find out. Hidan covered his head and exclaimed. This speed. How can I catch up? Are these two monsters? Deidara crossed her arms and looked proud. He is my blasting master. Master, he hasn't used blasting yet. If Master used the blasting technique, that Uchiha family kid would have lost. Scorpion said in a voice of shock concealed indifferently. Don't get delusional, you can't even touch Naruto's heel. Deidara wasn't angry at all, and was even more smug. That's my master. I can't compare to being normal. But Shie, do you think you can compare to my master? Deidara's words pierced deeply into Scorpion's heart like a sharp knife. Scorpion was choked and closed his mouth at the same time, expressing that he did not want to have any conversation with Deidara. Pain frowned slightly. The offensive and defensive speed that Naruto and Sasuke just showed is really amazing. But compared to the violent beating of Shuhei 3 days ago, it is not so amazing. After a brief pause, Naruto and Sasuke acted again. This time, the figures of the two flashed, and they disappeared from everyone's sight. No one is seen, but there will always be something extra on the field. For example, the kunai and shuriken inserted in the ground, and the ninjutsu and other lotus that popped up suddenly. But Naruto and Sasuke's speed is so fast that they can't even be seen with the naked eye. Is this the instant technique? Reikage's eyes widened. Why is their blinking technique so fast? Third generation said with a smile. Children practice casually, and they become so fast without knowing it. His face and words were full of complacency. But these words fell on the ears of the few people nearby, but they were extremely harsh. What is casual practice? Can you reach this level with casual practice at home? You old man is probably not as fast as these two. The Onoki trio glanced at third generation with envy, jealousy and hatred in their eyes. They even want to replace it with third generation. If they have such excellent talents as Naruto and Sasuke under their hands, I am afraid they will wake up laughing from their dreams. In fact, the third generation always wakes up in the middle of the night. I didn't wake up laughing, but I was awakened by Naruto's various introverted behaviors in the dream. As long as they think of Naruto's introverted behavior, third generation can't help but feel a chill. Oops. Can't think too much. Third generation quickly cleared those bad memories from their minds. If you continue to think about it, you will have nightmares again at night. After spending a lot of effort to clear the distracting thoughts in his mind, third generation focused on the field, and then his eyes widened in shock. I saw that the originally intact arena had completely turned into ruins. Large and small potholes appear everywhere, and there are also traces of saying yes, lightning strikes, and flooding. Just by looking at it, one can feel what kind of inhuman torture the field has endured. What? What happened just now? Third generation was a little confused. He just wasn't paying attention. Unexpectedly, in just a dozen seconds, the arena seemed to have become a battlefield where dozens of ninjas fought. This is exaggerated. The strength of the two of them, I'm afraid they have reached the shadow level. Reikage said with an extremely ugly face. If either of these two were from their Cloud Shinobi village, I'm afraid I will declare his heir on the spot. But it turned out that the two were neither. This made it difficult for I to accept. Onoki and Luo Sha's expressions were also very ugly. Especially Rosa. His face flushed even more with shame. Seeing Naruto's performance with his own eyes, Luo Sha deeply felt that his previous plan was too hasty. I also wanted to use the Shukuru in Gaara's body to get rid of Naruto, but Naruto's strength has reached cage level, and even surpassed it. At least Luo Sha felt that facing Naruto at this time, he had no chance of winning at all. Except for the bursts of exclamation from the audience who didn't know why. All the ninjas stared at the cold field with serious or ugly expressions. Even Konoha's ninjas looked very dignified. Unexpectedly, the strength of Naruto and Sasuke has reached this point. Kakashi sighed deeply. Before Kakashi did not admit defeat, he wanted to work hard to show his senior demeanor. But looking at it now, the two of them didn't know where he had been left for a long time. Kakashi can barely see the exhaust of the two of them. Beside, Might Guy watched with blood boiling. It's really exciting. The battle between the two completely ignited the youthful blood in my body. No. Wait a minute and you're going to have a fight with me. I can't take it anymore. Kakashi shook his head helplessly and said, but I'm not in the mood. On the other side, Asuma sighed deeply. Looking up at the shining red Yuhi beside her, she only followed Naruto's line of sight, feeling a deep sense of powerlessness. If it was anyone else, Asuma would be able to catch up. But Naruto, thinking of those lessons from the past, Asuma really couldn't think of how to transfer Kurani Yuhi's sight from Naruto to herself. At this moment, Asuma deeply felt that his opponent was too powerful. Naruto doesn't even have to do anything special. Just acting as usual can deeply attract Yu Hihong's attention. And he, Asuma the lick dog, never gets Kurani's attention. Well. Sighing deeply again, the expression on Asuma's face became more miserable. Field. The competition seems to have entered a white-hot stage. Naruto and Sasuke's moves also became more and more destructive. Sasuke's eyes had already turned into Scarlet Sharingan, but they didn't turn into Mangekyous. A Rasengan condensed in Sasuke's hand. But in the next second, the color of Rasengan gradually changed, gradually deepening from light cyan to dark blue. Lightning is even more lingering around Rasengan. The ear-piercing sound spread rapidly. This is Chidori? Might Guy turned to look at Kakashi suspiciously. You gave this to him? However, Kakashi himself was also very confused. Because he didn't teach Sasuke anything. Kakashi removes the blindfold over his left eye, revealing the Sharingan from Obito. With just one glance, Kakashi could tell that it wasn't his Chidori, but chakra nature transformation with thunder attribute added to Rasengan. Let the Rasengan with no attribute become the Rasengan with thunder attribute. Didn't expect Sasuke to have been able to do this. What? Kakashi said in surprise, and suddenly looked at Naruto in shock. In Naruto's hand, there is also a Rasengan with thunder attribute nature transformation. The piercing sound suddenly doubled. The audience in the entire arena had to cover their ears hard. But the sharp voice still affected them. Subsequently, Naruto and Sasuke rushed towards each other at the same time. Almost in the blink of an eye, the lightning-style Rasengan in the hands of the two collided. At this moment, the powerful power hidden in Rasengan burst out instantly. A large number of thunder and lightning overflowed, like snakes in the sky. A large number of holes pierced by electric snakes appeared on the ground, walls, and everywhere. This is just the marginal power that has dissipated. In the very center, a violent explosion suddenly occurred. Only the dazzling white light remained in everyone's sight, and there was nothing else. Boom! There was an extremely violent roar, and even the trembling entire field began to tremble. The audience staggered from side to side, shouting in panic as if experiencing a violent earthquake. But the white light in their eyes still couldn't see anything, and the fear in their hearts soared even more. Fortunately, the tremors soon stopped. It wasn't really an earthquake after all. The sight is also recovering little by little. The panic of the audience gradually subsided. Although the heart is still beating wildly, at least there is no panic before. And at this time, a large pit with a depth of more than 10 meters and a diameter of more than 30 meters appeared in the center of the arena. That's almost half the field. The audience suddenly went into an uproar. Is this really a battle between two genin? You tell me that this is a battle between two cage-level powerhouses and I believe it. It's too exaggerated. They are only 7 years old. Why do they have such strong power? Konoha shinobi, so scary. Mom, I want to go home. Compared with Konoha's ninjas, we are nothing. This is nothing like the ninjas I know. The ninjas of other ninja villages lurk, assassinate, and set traps, and the ninjas who are trapped in the leaves will directly destroy the world. How did Konoha cultivate these two perverts? If you only look at this situation, even if it is a trace of the Hokage battle, I am afraid no one will doubt it. It's really scary. Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, the two geniuses of Konoha. I'm afraid their future achievements will be limitless. I am afraid that no one in the entire ninja world can stop them. Everyone is devastated. After witnessing the strength of Naruto and Sasuke surpassing cage-level powerhouses, they collapsed one after another. Mainly celebrities, and Sasuke is too young, after that fierce collision. At this time, Naruto and Sasuke were unharmed. The two were standing on both sides of the huge pothole at this moment, looking at each other from afar. Suddenly, Sasuke snorted coldly and said, "The warm-up phase is over, it's time to get real." Naruto, don't tell me this is all your strength. Naruto chuckled when he heard that. How can it be? Just to the extent of stretching the muscles and bones. A question mark appeared in everyone's head. This is comparable to cage level, and even surpasses cage level battles, which are believed to be in battle, but you said it was a warm-up. If this is a warm-up, then you are really serious. Maybe Konoha will be destroyed, right? And